Here's a message of importance to millions of people who are continually pale and washed out, weak and run down. Doctors will tell you that these conditions are often caused by a deficiency of iron. The iron you need to keep you physically fit and mentally alert. Medical studies show that 2 out of 3 women and many, many men lack the daily iron your body requires in a form your body can easily use and put to work. Every dose gives you more than your daily minimum iron requirement.
We are awake, we are aware, we are not alone. We are striving for more.
So if you're not getting the iron your body needs, if you feel weak, run down, and are easily upset, start taking iron today.
The iron you need to get what you want.
That's right. TGIF, everybody.
Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. Oh, no, that's not what I want. That'll get us a copyright strike. I know what that'll do. But welcome to Have No Sphere, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josh Corey. You have tuned in to the Iron Realm Media YouTube channel. We're running on a skeleton crew this evening. But we've got an awesome guest, as always. So let's jump right in and say hello to everybody, starting off with one Mr. Walter Johnson, just because I get to and he is here. Walt, how have you been, sir? I am super curious.
I've been good. If you can hear me, I've been really good. It's been a good couple of days, 3 or 4 days now. We had a little bad spell, but even the nurse came by today and Mom was shocking her even. Apparently her strength is combined with all the help we have that I'm doing everything I can here. So, but yeah, she's had some great days and lots of happiness. We finally have some sunshine here in Oregon, which is rare, unfortunately, but it's been some really sunny days. So how is everyone else?
Well, so far I think we're doing really well. Zach and I missed the hell out of you over on the Ironworks, over on Truth Frequency Radio. Isn't that right, Zachary Zabala?
Yeah, it's just not the same, man.
Well, I listened to you guys for about probably 40 minutes today.
Yeah, I got to see you in chat at least. That was
got
nice.
in chat, and then I could hear you, and then and finally went to YouTube.
It's so hard trying to be Uncle Walt.
It's hard. Are you if you can.
I mean, just remembering all the stuff you remember and all your shout outs and just all the, man, yeah, we miss you.
Man, I miss y'all. I'm coming back. I'm going to come back and see y'all.
Oh, I know. It's good to have you here, man.
It certainly is. We also joined this evening by one Mrs. Cammie Nodell. Cammie, how are things in your neck of the woods?
Oh, it's a beautiful day in Denver today, and I am so happy hearing Walt's voice and how well things are going. It gave me a huge, huge lift. Walt on the Ironworks, you saw the name of the show. Where's our Walter? I don't remember exactly, but that was the feeling, and it's so good to have you on and hear your voice again today. You made my whole day.
Yeah, it was a throwback to Desperately Seeking Susan. It was Desperately Seeking Walter is what that was.
I loved that movie.
Truly. Miss
I
you guys.
love Walt more, but love the movie. Miss you, Walt.
That about sums it up for the Iron Realm crew, but we are joined this evening by the one, the only, Mr. James True. I guess there's only one way to do this is just start and say, hey, James, what have you been up to? And I'll just kick back and relax.
It's great to be here. It's really, really nice to see you guys again. Walt, it's good to hear your voice. I know what's going on, but it's good to hear you anyway, man. Appreciate that. And thanks for having me. Looking forward to the campfire tonight.
Me too. This is super exciting. When we first had you on almost a year ago, could that possibly be?
Could be.
I saw one from at least 11 months ago, so maybe that was the first.
That's crazy.
Time flies when the apocalypse.
Isn't that right?
Yeah. When the apocalypse starts lipsing, time starts.
Sorry. So you've actually, that first episode, I remember you discussing plot points and plot twists to this little novel you had percolating inside your brain pan. And it has recently gone to press, I suppose. It's actually digitally, I know you can get on Amazon right this very minute. Link is in the description.
True words have never been spoken. That is the true of true, as Cammie has told us, which we'll get into here in a second. Yes, I am so excited. The novel, my novel, is out on Kindle right now as an early release, only because we're waiting for the printer to send me the cover to make sure it's printed right, make sure there's no adjustments in the images and stuff like that. So it's like weeks away from the paperback. But yes, the reason why this is even more fitting for the Ironworks crew to hear about this first, this is actually the first interview I've done on the book, is because, my friends, this is the very first book I ever tried to write. This is a book that I started 4 years ago. This is a book that was about satellites. Ladies and gentlemen, this book began with James True as a globalicious liquor. A deep ball liquor, okay? And this book caused me so much pain because it was about one thing, and that word was satellites. And for me to make a good book, my friends, I'm going to work hard on my book. And I did the research because I was trying to write this novel about an artificial intelligence that took over a satellite system. And I discovered, by researching this sci-fi book about outer space, that space is not real, that it is a chump change on top of a slug that's used to look like a nickel, that's used to stick into an old Coke machine to get a free Coke, that it's not even fiat money is fake, but the slug that you use to fake fiat money is even faker than that. Like that's where we're at with space. And it's been the most painful process ever. It's like my dog who drags his butt around in the gravel sometimes. That's how it's been, this journey of 4 years from me, from Globe Earther to where I am now. And all that to say, this is a flat Earth novel. It's a sci-fi about the fraud of the space program, and among other things. And it's really cool. I really hope you guys will check it out and tell me what you think about it.
We will definitely check it out. How do I get on that waiting list for the signed copy of the paperback?
You just gotta hang out, man.
Oh, I can do that.
You just gotta hang out. You gotta follow me. Maybe subscribe to me. Maybe check out my website, and you'll know from there. It's really close though. It's definitely really close.
jtrue.com. Links are in the description.
Yeah, my website's jtrue.com, and some of you will get an alert. Oh my God, this website's trying to see your credit card. And that's because you didn't enter www. So this is like the world of. Anyway, I swear I've never asked for your credit card. This is boring to even talk about, but yeah, check out my website or just Google my name. You should find me. I'm pretty easy to find. But I will say, guys, that I can't tell you how many hours of days, of months back to back where I've ripped this novel apart And I wish to God that Globe Earth was true, because I was losing these beautiful scenes that I'd written, namely about the satellite system itself. And it was so hard. In other words, I had full incentive for the globe to be real. I had a career as a sci-fi writer ahead of me. And it all of that had to change dramatically. And it was only based on my research. It was only because I really, really like to research the hell out of stuff. If you guys, I know you guys have seen my other books. These are deep dives into each subject. And I deep dived into satellites and got hit by a plexiglass wall like 3 inches from my face. It's a really, really painful experience. So, yeah, satellites aren't real, and I have the workload to prove it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that got me the most, because before Flat Earth, I was looking into satellite data daily from NASA. I was big on the whole Nibiru Planet X thing come in, and I was nonstop every day, like multiple times a day. Sechi, Soho, Alaska, all these NASA satellites, just drooling over the pictures. And it never dawned on me once. I never even thought the impossibility some of these things were doing.
Yep.
I still have one of those big, full-color, high-gloss Cosmos books where everything is just bright orange and reds and blues and purples, and everything just pops. And, yeah, it's all crap.
Well, it was Doppler shift.
Yeah, that's what it smells like.
My last arm dragging on the wagon, trying to maintain myself on globalism, was Doppler shift. Was basically satellites have, when you're listening to a satellite signal, you're experiencing a shift through the day. It's a change in the signal that you're receiving. And that was the last thread where I was like, no, they have to be true. They have to be true because of this. They have to be true because of this. And it wasn't until I realized that Satelloons will rise and fall through the day that I was able to finally explain to myself, oh my gosh, that's how Doppler shift is there. And that was, just so you know, personally, that was the final piece for me. That was the final thing where I was able to let go, is when I was finally able to understand how all this would work with satellites, how drone loons right now are being utilized in SpaceLink, how all this stuff is possible when you think in terms of airship. The very thing that they've tried to steer us away from, if you think about Led Zeppelin or the Hindenburg, it's always been this constant push of, hey, don't you be thinking about no airships now. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. It's always had that tinge to it. And that to me gives us a clue about the shape of our world. And that's what this sci-fi novel is all about. It's, once I got past the satellites, once I realized I'm going to write a flat earth novel, whether people hate it or not, I have to do this. That's when the real work, the real fun of the book began, honestly. It was like 3 years of, I really want there to be space, and then like 1 year of let's get this shit done. How does this story told? What would be the incentive for someone who wants people to believe in satellites? How does that character interact? How is the lie itself facilitated across a network of people that have no idea what's going on? It's that kind of thing. So it also deals with an ancient artificial intelligence that's 13,000 years old. I mean, that's a big chunk of it too. But the point about this satellite part really fixes that. It puts you in a world again of what could be true, where we're actually looking at all the ancient archaeology, all the evidence that we have that we've been here before in some way, all the secret knowledge that's being unzipped right now before us, as we're looking at the Bible and we're finding out things about our brain. Deep biological secrets are being revealed to us now, which shows us that we're decoding something, which means someone knew something long ago. Again, all this points back to this notion of where we're at now. When you take your head out of space and put it in the soil, what are the stories that are being told? What's the true, as Cammie had said earlier?
That is the question.
And isn't that what an apocalypse is.
Absolutely.
It's a revelation. It's the revealing of all hidden truths.
That's
It's
right.
not a bad thing. They've taught us to fear this word as if
Yep.
it were some horrible, evil, wicked thing, and it's not. It's a good thing.
They did the same with the eclipse. They taught you to fear the eclipse. But when you understand what an eclipse is, an aperture change, it's something different about the aperture. You start to see it as a whole other experience. It's a much like the rituals of the equinox and the solstice. There are these other rituals that are larger, that have a larger cycle, and that is also a decode. That's God telling you, hey, look, I know I don't say a lot, but I'm here. I'm here, and I'll be back, and I'll be back, and I'll be back. It's a beautiful thing when we start to look at ourselves in these cycles and these revolutions. The grand solar minimum wasn't being ignored by the climatologists. It was being not seen. That's the big difference. Their aperture didn't allow them to see something like that. It couldn't allow them to see God speaking in a tone, a sine wave through time. And that's to me, that's what the apocalypse is all about. That's what this corona is all about. That's why in 2012 they were telling us all, hey, this is going to happen. Look at this, the Olympic ceremony. This is going to
Right.
happen. That's someone giving you a gift right now. It's someone telling you this is a decode. This is the same signal that's been placed. A cable's been laid 200,000 years ago, and that same cable is right here. And that's a beautiful thought. Once you can get away from the fear of the apocalypse, you know, that fear you're supposed to have, that fear of the mask. Once you don't have the shame anymore of the mask on, you could look at what's happening around us and really appreciate the beauty of everything that's being uncovered right now. It's a beautiful, beautiful time right now. Epic. It's an epic time right now for all of us, especially in flat Earth. But it's not just that, you know. It's everywhere. It's all about the aperture.
This morning on the show, Zach was saying that he was talking about whatever Skylink, Skytrain, Sky bullshit.
Spacelink.
Yeah.
Starlink.
And I've seen it out
Oh.
here. Actually, I watched it one night and was like, well, that's pretty interesting to see drones, because I saw a couple out of formation move back into formation, because that's how satellites work. You know, they always fix that formation as they go anyway. But he was saying, you know, what if all of that crap is just them coming up with bullshit to distract us from the signs and wonders that are supposed to be in the sky as we approach this apocalypse? And it was like, holy shit, Zach, that hit me home, bro. That hit me in a home place.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that would be another big upside down cover up for these assholes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I would also, by the way, whenever you're seeing one of those things out of sequence, I think what you're actually seeing is that one of them has lost its altitude bubble. In other words, it's actually
That's how
in,
drones work, right?
yeah, you know, it's you get it. Yeah, it's how drones work. So it's out of its XY, but it's in line with its XY, but because its Z is off, we're looking at it from the ground and seeing, and you can tell because it's still carving the perfect, you
Right.
know,
It
still
stays
carving
along
the
the
line.
crew. Right. Yep.
They each have their own personal altimeter, you know, and they have to. They each have to have their own altimeter that's going to adjust that I guess pitch, roll, yaw. Anyway, absolutely. I also think that this system, the Starlink system, is going to help people with Project Bluebeam dismiss. It's like flypaper. It's like flypaper for Prana. It's people are going to have beliefs that they're not going to be comfortable with. For example, if you're not comfortable with 9/11 being a controlled demolition, you need a flypaper called 19 box cutters. You need a belief that's close enough around that area that you're more comfortable with, that you can say, hey, I can't join you on controlled demolition, but I will join you on 19 box cutters. We'll have a nice tea. You know, it's like the food court versus the nice underground Japanese restaurant that no one knows about. These are different avenues that we have to park ourselves, to feel comfortable with the aperture that's happening around us. It's no different than if you were to be looking directly into the sun versus looking right next to the sun. versus having your back turned to the sun. All of us are seeing the same light, but we have a completely different perspective because our aperture is only comfortable enough to perceive the light in a certain way. And that's really what reality is. I don't want to toot my own show, but I did a show called The Aperture of Flat Earth. And I think it's really important because, not that you have to watch it, but it's important because it's opening this idea that each of us have an aperture for how we perceive the universe. And that aperture is really crucial. It's based not on logic. It's not, and it never will be, guys. It will never be based on logic. It's based on comfort. It's based on your ability to absorb the truth, to actually sit through and accept, yes, this is the truth of a situation. As an example, imagine if you were a fly caught on a web with a spider coming. That might be so terrifying to you that you do not see a spider. You see something different. You see something more acceptable to you. Not that the apocalypse is a spider coming to you, but it's just trying to give you an example. It's no different than the antelope that when it's captured by the lion, it will actually flip its script. It's no longer in fight flight. It switches to, hey man, I'm just going to give you a bunch of dopamine and you're just going to smile. You're just going to enjoy this right now. This is part of our blindness. It's actually called blind sight. It's this thing where you're seeing things, even though your eye doesn't work, you're still able to understand that there's a corner here, there's a threat here, there's something here. What the apocalypse is showing me is that we have a deeper vision, a much more profound vision. And that's our pineal gland. It's our third eye. It's listening. It's listening to the environment like a human sonar. And it's converting that signal into eyesight, into sound, into smell, into touch, into balance, into acceleration. All of our senses we have are coming from the same perturbation, the same needle, like the record needle, but on a three-dimensional record needle. It's listening to the environment all around it, and it's giving us this data and processing it to us in different ways. But those ways are only going to be what's comfortable for us. It's you don't want to give a baby a carrot. You want to put that carrot through a blender, and then you want to give that baby that just enough of that carrot where it'll take whatever it needs, not more. That's what our aperture is. And that's why you're seeing so much of that rejection from globe earthers. Because what you're doing, guys, by being flat earth is you're sticking your hands in their cervix of their consciousness and you're going, and you're pulling it open. I'm not trying to be gross. You're
No,
pulling.
but it's painful if you're a girl. It's kind of like if I say I squeeze your balls.
Yeah, you're pulling that open. And that's why globe earthers react so strongly to that. And that's why we think that maybe they're deceiving themselves or they're lying to themselves. It's not. Their aperture is physically seeing a world that is limited. It makes them feel comfortable. Having a ball earth has limits to it. You now know all the land that's there. Knowing that, right, is a relaxation. It's all my perimeters are solved. All the jaguars have been accounted for. I am safe now. And by you being flat earth, you're telling them that we do not know what is out there. We do not know the entire realm of this land. It's a comfort movement. That's why Zeta Reticuli is so far away. The idea of something being foreign is safe to them as long as it's in the Zeta Reticuli cluster, 17 trillion million light years away. I am comfortable with that idea. This is what we've been doing to humanity the whole time with theism, creating this material world, and then God is outside of it looking down. It's a similar, we are more comfortable with God being kind of away from us. It's like, no, Daddy, I want to try and walk. I want to do it myself. Leave me alone. I need to push you away so I can walk now. This is all about our aperture. I feel like I'm babbling, but it's all about our comfort level, how comfortable we are with our cosmology. That's why everyone reacts in such a threatening way to this stuff.
So the phrase really is true. Some have eyes to see. Well,
Yes.
others, it's not that they just can't do it. It's like almost like a physical impossibility.
Their rods and cones are not receiving the same data because that light, the sun is pure raw information. And if your back's turned to it, you're still going to receive information, aren't you? But it's not going to be enough to burn your skin. It's not going to be enough to dilate to stop your eyes from dilating. But if you turn and face the sun, you're going to have different degrees of how much of that information is pouring into you. I think that's what's happening with our consciousness. That's why Jesus was a necromancer. His aperture was so comfortable with the world that he was able to see living spirits in the world. He could see if someone was possessed. He could see the world as it truly is. I'm talking about all the ghosts, all the crystal meth heads, everything they see, all the paranoid schizophrenics, everything they see, all the TIs, anyone who sees Sasquatch, anyone who sees UFOs. These people are seeing real life EMF energy, and their mind is having to put a costume on it so their aperture is comfortable enough to see it, while half of us don't even see it, right? Because our aperture is like, while you're seeing Sasquatch, I can't even perceive that. I can perceive a wild turkey. That's the extent of foreign energy that I can perceive when I'm in the forest. But someone else can perceive a Sasquatch. These are all predators in the trees. When I say predator, I'm not trying to say they're trying to kill you. What I mean is it's something that you don't understand, so you think it's a predator, and so your aperture closes. Like, dude, it's no different than if you were. I was on the Appalachian Trail once. I came over a hill. A rattlesnake is there. The rattlesnake, right, starts rattling his tail. It froze me, it was like a trance spell. This rattle,
Primal.
and it was so primal. I was paralyzed. I lost the ability to consider that I could just walk around the snake. I was on a trail, and I was like, well, I really want to go north on the AT. How do I get past this snake? The fear had caused the rest of my system to shut down. So what does the body do? It has an aperture on it. Your consciousness has an aperture. And it's like, I don't want to show you too much, James, because if I do, you'll end up pooping in your pants, peeing down your leg, and you won't move. You'll be so blown away, right, by this spirit that either you're calling a Sasquatch, a demon, an angel, or Zeta Reticuli, a reptilian. You'll be so freaked out by that you won't move. You'll be petrified like what? Medusa. You'll be petrified by the truth. That's what that song Blinded by the Light's all about. That's what all this is about. This consciousness aperture, the apocalypse is the opening of your aperture. But this aperture, and personally, I think that's what the Illuminati third eye has been about this whole time. This whole symbolism of this third eye has been about a controlled aperture opening by Masonic weirdos. Like that's what I think is happening. A controlled aperture opening. This is not an enslavement. It's an aperture opening. It's a slowly bringing you into the light. It's so weird to look at it this way, but it's true. This is part of my compassion aperture lens that I got a few months ago as a result of COVID. It's enabling me to see what's going on more accurately.
I've
Now, I have a
experienced the
question.
very thing of being out. A friend of mine and I used to spend many hours out in the long way off in the cane areas where you could see no light pollution looking for UFOs. I mean, that was my whole gig in the 80s and 90s. And many times we'd see many interesting things. But more than once, we would literally be like walking out the door to go somewhere else. And he would be like, look, look, look. I'm looking exactly where he's pointing. You know, he's flipping out, tears in his eyes. I'm like, what are you seeing? He's like, it's a big disc lit up. You don't see that? It's right there. And I'm like, I don't see it, man. I'm freaking out because he is obviously experiencing something heavy duty. So, yeah, that's wild. That's
Yep.
25, 30 years
right?
ago.
It makes sense if you think about it in aperture, because no one has to be a liar now. You know what I mean? No one has to be crazy. In other words, we can learn.
Oh, I knew it was real without a doubt.
Yeah.
I just knew it was a vibration. To me, it was a frequency thing, you know, vibration. I wasn't there. I wasn't on that frequency to see it. So, yeah. Sorry, Cammy, you were saying I was
Oh,
just
no, that was
I was
okay.
excited about the idea.
I liked where you were going. Now it takes me to a different because I definitely am one that sees the different energy fields. But my question was to you, James, is you were saying how things were working out on this timeline that was written over 2,000 years ago. And my question to you is what I think sometimes they're trying to do is force the timeline and take it over some and manipulate it. What do you see that or?
Yeah, I think so. Like when the SS, it's actually USNS Comfort and Mercy, those two white ships. One was in New York and one was in L.A. Those were the Masonic towers for this last ritual. Just like the World Trade Center, those were two towers of the ritual of 9/11. These Comfort and Mercy ships were towers, a larger ritual over the entire country. And when you have two energies like this, when you have two towers that are aligned, they start to push against each other, and you create a vortex, an energy flow, where when you put a bunch of money around it, you have all these people that are pouring into one side and coming out the other. And that creates a realistic vibrational change in humanity, in the zeitgeist. And when the zeitgeist changes, everyone is affected by the zeitgeist. That's why Building 7 was shown to you. They wanted you to see that Building 7 fell. They want you, it's so weird. They want you to catch them. And the reason why they want you to catch them is because that's part of the initiation ceremony. That's part of decoding. We're going to be decoding things. We've decoded the city of Troy. We found out what Troy is actually a real city. So we took a mythology and we looked closer and we found, holy geez, wow, there's a real city. Look, here's a real city. It's you decoded that. You looked at the same information, but you looked at it again. And Building 7 is asking you, look again. Look again at what 911 is, at what 9/11 is. And for me, I found a profound answer. I'm blown away by the answer I see. And it's only because they left a key. It's only because they left a calling card saying, I need you to look at Building 7. And if you look at that through compassion, you're going to find that they've left you a secret. And what's happening is exactly what's supposed to be happening. It's caused so many of us to funnel, to raise up through this great awakening. It's been an opening of aperture for so many people, whether it be about cosmology, politics, religion, society, sexuality, transhumanism. All of these things have been completely turned on their head. And I believe that that's actually been a result of this ritual, that what you're looking at is a bunch of consent ticklers, people that are here to coax, they will spend billions of dollars, not imprisoning you, but trying to get you to give their consent. These are two totally different goals. If they really wanted to enslave us, I think we would be enslaved. Instead, what they're trying to get us to see is, please use your discernment. And that's the big one, discernment. The reason why we're seeing all these giant psychopathic plans that are spending billions and billions of dollars, the reason why we're burning $56 billion a day is because they're showing us humanity does not have the discernment yet. And until they do, they're not ready. They're not refined. I believe these Illuminati are creating a massive alchemical spell on humanity where they want us to grow up. They want us to be aware of the predator. They want us to put more effort into our consciousness, into what's around us. And if 76 needle injections into your child doesn't show you, if you're still trusting the system, they will do 77 and then 78. If a false flag school shooting at Sandy didn't work, they will do it again at Parkland. They will keep doing these rituals until you see it, until enough of us see it. And it's making each of us see it. It's making each of us go, what the heck's going on? And that's a constructive thing that's causing all of our apertures to open. And what's happening as our apertures are opening, more of us are seeing things that we're calling UFOs. Why are we calling them UFOs? Because of the flypaper I'm speaking about earlier. We need excuses. We need candy coating. We need to take these fireflies and put them inside of small jars so we can safely hold them, so we can accept them as what the truth is. This is like Christopher Columbus coming to the Bahamas and the local tribe not being able to see his ship. He's like, no, the big ship, it's right there. And the tribe leader's like, I don't see that. He's like, no, it's freaking huge, man. There's the giant sails. You don't see that? He's like, no, it could only see the rowboats. That's what we're looking at, I think, right now. That's why X-Files, check it out. That's why Simpsons and the X-Files was written. That's why these things were pushed. They're trying to give you avenues. If you're looking at energy that you think is from a foreign planet that's super far away, that's a comfortable electrical charge that you can have with that. It's sort of like the difference between, hi, I'm coming to stay with you for one night, or hey, I'm coming to stay for an indefinite period of time. That house guest is completely different. If they're coming for one night, you're like, okay, I'll go with that. But if it's indefinite, part of you is going to be like, I don't know if I can handle this. That's what's happening around us with these energy. We've been given these different costumes that we can put the real energy into so that we can accept it. And if we can't accept it, no problem. We'll just demonize it. That's okay. That's why we demonize things. When you demonize something, you're electrically putting it into a pit, an endless pit. You're pushing it as far away from you as you can. So it could be your ancestor. It could be the spirit of giants. That's what could be a demon, could be something good, but you wouldn't know because you demonized it. That's why that word means that. It means to demonize something. To put it into the pit is to be comfortable with it with your aperture. So you'll read a book about demons, but you will never, you can't accept it or see one. That's how your aperture, that's giving you an example of that tiny aperture versus someone else who sees them all the time. Say someone who's on Thorazine because they're paranoid schizophrenic, and they're placed in a room with a bunch of other people that are seeing the same things. That's why Jerry Marzinsky documents these hallucinations. They're not hallucinations. The definition of hallucination is not what people are seeing. They're
I
seeing
watched
something.
Constantine this morning. Do you remember that movie with Keanu Reeves about demons? And he's an exorcist.
Into the light I command thee.
And but it's a lot about this. He can see all these things, but most other people can't. And other people who can, usually they're considered mentally insane or put on all
Sure.
these crazy drugs at a young age.
Yeah. And the shaman, I haven't seen that movie. I know of it, but the shaman is the first on the island who can see Christopher Columbus's sails. It's not the chief, it's the shaman. The shaman can see it first, and he can tell the rest of the people, look at the water lapping up against the ship. Do you see that? And then they do. Then they can start to see the hull. They can't see the sails yet, but they could see a really, really big boat. This is all about aperture. This is what's happening with us. This is why we're here. We're here to learn our discernment of our aperture. We're here to learn to stop falling for tricks. It's weird, but we think that they're here to torture us. But actually, what you see is they're here to get us to resolve. They're here to have us build our own resolve, our own consent, our own sovereignty. What is Bill Gates been teaching all of us, except for, why am I listening to Bill Gates? Well, like, that's a good lesson. I mean, seriously, that's a good lesson. It's all this that's happening to us. All of these rituals have been things that have shown us, hey, maybe I shouldn't send my kids to this school in Parkland. Maybe I shouldn't enlist in the army if we're just going to burn oil fields down. Or, hey, maybe maybe murdering the man that built the world's largest irrigation project maybe wasn't a good idea. Like, we start to learn these things, but we don't learn them unless someone breaks our trust. You see, that's the profound part of it. If government didn't break our trust, we would never learn this. We would just go to war. We would do what my dad did, my grandfather did. We would do what all of our grandparents did. We would just go to war. We would just believe whatever story they were told. And instead, what I see happening is a bunch of Illuminati guys have been like, we need you to stop believing what you're told. And we're going to start throwing some rituals at you until you get it right. I'm not saying that that's how the entire world works. I'm telling you guys that that's what Building 7 was. Building 7 was a calling card telling you to wake up. And it was left on purpose.
You shared something early on when all this whole thing started, when the two ships were on each coast, about a guy who ran his locomotive engine through the barrier at the end trying to hit one of the ships. I think that was out here on the West Coast, wasn't it?
Yep, sure was. Oh, that's right.
So is that they're Building 7 this time? Just, I mean, because that sounded like something out of a fucking movie to me. It was like just too scripted. This guy making that plunge, knowing he can't make it, but he's going to show everybody the crazy ritual that he's trying to reveal. And it's like, man, this is just too scripted. What? So yeah, that's their new Building.
You nailed it, Walt. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And what's hard is if you don't have compassion, it's so funny, but this is what Jesus said. If you don't have compassion, you could not look at 9/11 or Building 7 as what I'm telling you to do right now, which is I'm telling you to say, hey, what if no one was killed in the towers? That's hard for any of you to do. It's the same. It's just as hard as if I was to say, hey, maybe there were no gas chambers. It's going to have the same, what are you doing? That's what I'm telling truthers right now about the Twin Towers. Guys, it's a controlled demolition. You know, what does every 9/11 truther agree to? That it was a controlled demolition. And what I'm telling you is, it was a controlled demolition and the buildings were empty. And I know that's impossible if you spent all this work pulling yourself out of the trenches of government lies. You actually used 9/11 to do it. You see, that's what makes this a coil. That's what makes this a spiral staircase. That's what makes this an initiation ceremony into this hermetic order. Guys, I hate to tell you this, but if you're a truther, if you've ever looked at anything for the truth, you don't know this, but you've actually been initiating yourself into a secret society of consciousness. I know that sounds weird and culty, but just hear me out. Someone left you a clue that made you believe that 2,996 people died. And that clue led you to question the government. It led you to level 1 of a pyramid, of a step pyramid of understanding. I know this is creepy, but now that you're there, James True is telling you those towers were empty. And if you climb to level 2, you're going to look down at level 1 and see something totally different. You're now seeing that there's this pyramid that's trying to get you to open your eye, that you're trying to get you to initiate yourself to doubt what you've been told, to doubt what you've been told. And what did you do? On level 1, you believed what you were told, so you believe what you're told and understood that the government is lying. So confusing, right? You're taking a turn. It's like you're in the Queen's chamber and you've walked up at an angle, but then you've had to turn into a grand gallery and go back up another direction, a completely opposite direction into the King's chamber, into this next part. And that next part is that these people emptied those towers. They wanted you to think people were in the towers. And it's only if you can see this perspective, do you understand what a sacrifice these people made. They were exposing themselves. These are snakes that have pulled the rock out for you to see them. That's what Building 7 is. It's them showing you themselves. It's them saying, look how I can control all of you. And I will never force you by gun. I will simply ask for your consent every step of the way. And look, you're drone striking kids in the Middle East because of it. You're believing that there were babies in incubators. You're believing that there was weapons of mass destruction. You're believing 19 box cutters took out the most sophisticated, most advanced military in the world, and all of us let it happen. These are such hard things to comprehend, but there's something there for all of you. There's a dramatic truth here for all of you. And that's that people are sacrificing their own power to show you how easy it is to control you. And that is a huge gift, my friends. They're giving you a giant gift right there. They're telling you, here's my secret. Here is the fire Prometheus. Do you take it? That's really what this is. They're offering you Prometheus' fire, but they're not going to hand it to you. It doesn't work that way. You have to take it. And
So
that's what
much sense.
sovereignty is. That's what managing your own consent is. It's understanding just how easy it is for them to control you.
I've been saying that they've been messing up way too much in the past couple decades,
Exactly, Zach.
making it way too obvious. I was like, what is going on? I was like, who is in charge of this? But now that you say that, it makes so much sense.
Thank you for seeing it, because it does. Everything makes sense when you understand that, have the compassion long enough to go, what if they're messing up on purpose? It's no different. It's no different than in a wrestling match where Hulk Hogan takes Diamond Dave and throws him up against the ring. And when Diamond Dave bounces into the turnbuckle, he comes back and clotheslines Hulk Hogan. And everyone's watching it like, I did not see that coming. None of us have ever seen anyone bounce off the turnbuckle and then stick his arm out on the other guy. It was like such a flip. It's those kind of mistakes is what Zach's talking about. It's these really obvious bumbling things that make you gawk, that make you go, that's why is that school guy the same as the police officer? And then in the next picture, he's the parent. Why is that the same guy? Why is the weirdest looking dude from the Challenger, why is he wandering around in Delaware right now? Like, seriously, his picture is on the website of the university. If they're so dastardly, if they're so evil, why would they not at least shoot those astronauts in the head? I mean, come on. But they don't. Why would the ISS mess up that much? I mean, guys, come on. Some of the mistakes are
so bad. Some of it
so bad.
And before they started doing a lot of it, I remember the one from the ESU, the girl with the stuffed animal that just appears.
Yes.
She was talking to school, and this was like way early on.
Look at the remember
showing you what they can do.
Remember Hardwick on the bullet hole? The dude posted a photo saying the ISS has a hole in it. And he showed a photo of a bullet hole. And he goes, we patched it with gum and duct tape or something stupid like that. Right? Vacuum space, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, not only that, guys, that bullet hole was the album cover of like a heavy metal rock band from 10 years earlier. And it wasn't even like an obscure one. It was like a really popular album, apparently. It's no one messes up for $56 million a day. No, you wouldn't mess up that much. That would be this. How is that any different than expecting? If we believe people mess up this much, wouldn't we see a lot more fumbles in NFL games? Wouldn't we see a lot less spectacular catches happening?
That's what I kept saying. These can't be the best of the best people. What's going on here? They make it so obvious.
Bingo.
And I never understood why they did it, but yeah, thank you.
They're controlling our aperture, and this goes back to what Cammie was asking about in reference to a timeline. I do believe that they think that they only have 220 years left. I do believe that. And if the photos of the sun, okay, sidebar, whether or not you believe the sun is a nuclear ball or an anode and cathode, like I do, I picture it more like an anode and a cathode, an electrical system. Whether or not you believe that or not, I've seen a lot of pictures that they're calling sunspots, taken by looking at the sun, and those sunspots have been going away. They've been going away dramatically. And I believe that we are looking at when you look at the sun, that is your umbilical cord straight into God. That's why it hurts to see that. It's like drinking straight from truth. Like it's so bright, it's so intense. That's what that is. It's showing you the when you look at the sun, it's showing you that your aperture is working, because when you look around, it doesn't hurt as much. It's not this same kind of intensity. And if you consider that the sunspots, these darker patches inside the anode, the pictures of the anodes, think back when those were there, those were holes, those were shadows in the information, shadows that made it harder for us to open our aperture up. What I'm getting at is it could be that the sun itself has a cyclical, beautiful rhythm to it, a solar minimum or a solar maximum even, that's slowly opening our apertures up. It's dilating our cervix. It's opening that up for all of us naturally, right? It's no different than women. It's like an ovulation, but for consciousness. I'm not trying to
Now,
call us all women. But it's the best example I can give you about the system that's opening. It's a
now,
lotus that's unfolding.
James, I don't know if you know this, but it goes perfectly with what you're saying because I followed space weather and sunspots and that for years. And in either model you look at, and I'm going to be on the anode cathode model with you, but in either model that you look at, the sunspots are really nothing but areas of magnetic disturbance, either plus minus or minus plus. And what determines the sun cycle is the order of it. Is it plus minus or minus plus? And right now, where we are, and with them disappearing, it being strange, we've been stuck in a low solar minimum. And what's been happening on the sun right now is there's times where we've had fading spots from both cycles at the same time, which is again very rare. But we're having a switchover right now, and they've been going on. And generally, when you're seeing two of them, they're on different cycles, one the old and one the new. I've only seen one day where it only had a new spot on it, but it should be going quicker than this. Something is definitely going on up there, and it is very magnetic in what you're saying. It
Yeah.
would produce that energy.
So let's look at ancient history. We all know that some sort of sound technology was used to sculpt stone in India. Like we know that's
Yes.
the case. So we know that we've been here before. We know in Gilgamesh, we know in Noah, we have two clues that there was a great deluge. A deluge is like a formatting of the hard drive. It's clearing the system so something can be rewritten on it. And just like when you format a hard drive, you can still pick up ghost data. I think what we're seeing is that an ark of the covenant of humanity was kept. It's a time capsule that's kept. And there are people that are aware of this job and they're aware of this aperture opening. And I think for eons, for a long, long time, these people have been using ritual to try and blossom consciousness. It's much like a dandelion field. And without the Illuminati, it sounds so crazy, guys. So it's a working theory. Just hear me out. Without the Illuminati, it's a field with like one or two dandelions. And these Illuminati, they were able to save some information at the last deluge. And that was stored in a capsule somewhere, maybe in an ark, maybe inside a pyramid, maybe. I don't know. But that information was manna. It was memories of who we are. And so the next deluge, instead of it being two dandelions, there were 12. Why? Because they were able to maintain a little bit of information about who they are, what's important, how the aperture works. This is why you see the Temple of Man at Luxor, right? This giant temple that's laid out in the human body. This is why you see the same thing when in India. There's a temple where the chakras of the body are laid out in positions. These people are building time capsules for us. They know that there's a solar cycle, is what I'm trying to say. They know that an apocalypse will always come. And this is the opportunity, a threshing, a reaping, right? We separate the wheat from the chaff, where we get to choose what are we going to put in the time capsule. And maybe what's happening is that every deluge, every reset, there's more and more dandelions that are blooming because these people think that that pleases God. They think that the more of us are awakened or bloomed, that it pleases God to see a field of not just 12 dandelions, but 250 million. And if you follow that train of thought, what I like about it is it creates a global conspiracy theory of Illuminati people that are here to illuminate and enlighten people. Therefore, they would want to work together as a country in this false facade of countries, but they would still never give each other away. They would have this system in place where they're chasing their children with needles. They're never holding them down, right? They're never forcing you down and saying it's always by consent. So they're always wandering around behind you going, will you go for this? How about some sugar? You'll take that, won't you? Yeah, that's good, right? How about a needle? No, okay. I'll ask you next time. It's never this, hey, let's force vaccinate all these humans. It's never been about that. They want your consent, and they don't even want it. They want you to deny your consent. That's what they want. They want you to show discernment. And if you're not going to fall for a $56 million a day NASA ploy, they're going to build a $7 billion or $2 trillion one called CERN. They'll make this as big as it takes. They will keep going. They will put 300 vaccines in you if you're still going to believe in germ theory, if you're still going to believe what Pasteur tells you. No problem. We have more needles. Just like, and that's what COVID is, because I believe COVID is exosomes. The coronavirus, as Dr. Kaufman has really put forward a great presentation proving this, these are exosomes. What we're calling a virus is our firemen. It's like calling every fireman in America terrorist. Why? Because they're always around houses that burn down. They're the ones that are burning down all the houses, because every time a house burns down, a freaking fire truck shows up. It's that same kind of system where if we're going to believe that now our exosomes are evil, well, guess what, guys? There's 3 trillion viruses inside your body. If we're at war with one, they'll just go with war with 2 tomorrow, 3 the next day. They've got 3 trillion of them. They've got 3 trillion of them. And either we're going to put on masks and we're going to shame ourselves, or we're going to look at the science more and discern and go, maybe it's all bullshit. That requires a certain power of consciousness to call bullshit on that. It's the same power that Prometheus would need to steal fire, because that myth says Prometheus steals fire. He has to steal it. They're waiting for us. They're trying to get us to steal fire, is what I think. That's what sovereignty is. The torch of liberty, guys, the Statue of Liberty, that's you becoming the Prometheus. Your anima, the spirit of you, needs to claim your sovereignty, claim your power of discernment. When I look at this system this way, I've been doing this for like 3 weeks. Massive holes in the theories that I've always had have been fixed now. They've been patched by this, by looking at this. And I no longer have an evil person that I have to talk about. I no longer have to say, oh, well, it's because he's evil. There's a whole other matrix here. There's a whole other way that I can see this person now, where everything seems to make a lot more sense. It's a whole new world now, thanks to the apocalypse.
So yeah, every time I think you have broken my brain, and it's like, okay, James can't come up with anything else, right? Dude,
I was
what the
just
hell?
thinking the same thing.
Holy shit, dude! I'm just sitting here, just trying to reboot.
I was like, yeah, no, you can't finish right
Reboot.
now. My brain isn't ready yet.
It repaints everything, everything around us. It makes you rethink of the Renaissance. It makes you rethink of circumcision. It makes you rethink of why there would be a chosen people that would be told about the time capsule. Why they would need to be sort of like guys, straight up, Mossad is like, it's like a really evil genital cult. There's like this core group of people that have been traumatically reinvigorated inside themselves to do really bad things. And what I'm telling you is you need that. You need someone who's going to take the Ark of the Covenant, take the Kabbalistic secrets of the time before and hoard them and hide them from us in such a way that they would protect them. And then they would be revealed to us but only after the point where we're ready, only after the point where we're ready for something like Christianity, right? In other words, the people had to be ready for a religion like Christianity. And after you become ready for that, you're going to accept certain levels. The building 7 is going to be the crucifixion of Jesus. All right. That's your building 7. But what happens when you look back at the crucifixion with compassionate eyes and you start to understand what if dying between two criminals is the left and right hemisphere? What if the raising of the chrism, what if it's this process inside of our body? What I'm trying to say, guys, is that it's the exact same decode. It's the exact same. And if I was God, which I know sounds presumptuous, but if I was God, I would want to lay a truth down like this. I would need to decode it around mythology. And that mythology would carry the story, but no one would actually know that I was talking about your pineal gland. All we're talking about is the crucifixion of Christ. But then when you start to understand the cross of the body, the electrical nature, the shape of the different chambers in your head, and then you have these chambers that are starting to unlock itself, you really start to understand, well, this is why they had to tell it in such a way. The mythology had to be built in such a way where it's like this decode. And I'm telling you, this is why I think, well, I don't want to bring up AI, but someone really, 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 really smart had to think of the mythology that would be translated back into this truth, if that makes sense. How can I decode the body, the process of opening your third eye inside the temple? How can I decode that in a language where someone who doesn't even understand biology would keep that story and hoard it like a religion, right? Worship it, preserve it, write it down over and over and over and over again. What kind of information do I need that's going to make that last through 7,856 years of time? It's profound. It's profound because we can look at all our mythology as time capsules that are waiting for us to decode. And it's only the more we look at them, the more we find inside them, because our aperture opens, because we develop more compassion. We stop calling things evil and start to look at, well, why would you do that? Why would someone do that? Why would your parents, this is a perfect analogy for it, why would your parents lie to you about the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus? And the reason why, whether your parents knew it or not, is because your parents they can't have you trusting everything that they do. If you don't learn your own discernment, you're going to go out in the world and you're not going to be able to make your own decisions. You're going to have to ask mom and dad, is this true? And you're going to be 26 years old and you're going to go on a date and a tooth's going to fall out. You're going to have this really beautiful woman sleeping over your house and she's wondering why you're putting your tooth underneath your pillow. Because you never, ever bothered to have the discernment to ask. In other words, your parents lie to you in a controlled atmosphere so you can learn to sprout your own direction. If a tree's going this way, a branch can't go this way. It has to come out. It has to be at a tangent to its parents. That tangent is learning to discern your own truth from the world. In fact, when we are disappointed in our parents, what we're really doing is emotionally planting ourselves on a perpendicular and stretching out from them so we can grow and find our own light. We're jutting up in a different direction. That's what's happening all around us with this mythology, with this decode. It's this natural function where they know we would have to go this way and then we would have to go this way. It's so much like the Great Pyramid. It's of this journey. It's so freaking weird. It's anyway, I don't know where to go.
No, please go on with where you're going on it, because it's a different different way of looking at it, and I appreciate you give it. I mean, with the things and I know a lot of people have, oops, I'm sorry. And a lot of people have thought that, like, they're forced to put information in front of you and to say what they're going to do, and it's not compassion, it's more part of a game, like they have to play by a certain set of rules. And as far as all of the mess ups, I almost always took it as mockery. So this is a refreshing, it's a neat way to look at it. It's something I'll seriously filter through my brain, but please keep going.
Yeah, that is the key, because the more you start to unravel this, the more you see. If you're going to believe in the story of mockery, first of all, there's no payoff for that. It would mean that they would have respect for you, that the elite would see you on their level, and that's like your mom and dad. After you go to bed at night, they don't open your Monopoly board game and lay out all the paper money on the bed, and roll around on it like, oh, I'm rich. Look how rich I am. It's the elite don't use our money. They don't have birth certificates. They don't have a social security number. They don't look at us the same way as they look at themselves. So the idea of them mocking us really doesn't hold any water if you think about it. It wouldn't make any sense. It would lower them to spend that much time on it. So the only other argument you hear is, well, it's because they're trying to enslave us. But I don't think you guys understand how easy it is to enslave a human. I mean, look at the crop that's around today. We are very easy prey to catch. And if they truly wanted to enslave us, if they wanted us to have a chain around our neck where we're locked in a cubicle and had to go to the bathroom in a hole, they would have that. That would not be a hard system to do. They could have easily installed that system during the Revolutionary War, during World War I, during World War II. Any kinds of those systems where you have a mass migration is an opportunity to install a certain type of citizen. They don't want that. Look at the founding of our country. Look at some of the things Ben Franklin said. It's a profound dude. He was saying it's going to sound. Here's what's so trippy about it. Ben Franklin said, you need to be able to wander around the world like a philosopher. And wherever you go, everyone just knows that you're a sovereign being. You don't need laws. You don't need rights. You don't need anything that's following you around like a permission slip, right? I'm paraphrasing like really bad right now. But he was creating a country that was built on sovereign revolutionaries. And I'm just telling you that if they really wanted to enslave us, why would you have these sigils charged, so blatantly charged with ideas of sovereignty, of independence, of patriotism, all that stuff? You would have sigils that were more about, it's the giant teat.
Conformity.
Yeah, you would have a giant
warship.
nipple. The state would be a giant nipple, and everyone would get heroin every day. Like that's what you would have. It wouldn't be, drugs wouldn't be illegal. They would be farmed out by the state. You would
Mandatory.
you would have, exactly. You would have this system in place, but you don't. What do you have? You have the exact opposite. You have a bunch of people that are walking up to you in a mask. That's what's so freaky about it. Look at I Pet Goat 2. Both those movies, both I Pet Goats 2 showed you the cowling mask, this idea of someone wearing a mask, and it's a scary mask. And what they keep doing with us is coming up with a mask and scaring us, going, I'm a voodoo guy. Are you going to wake up now? Are you going to wake up now? And some of us are waking up, but others of us can't take it. We're too ashamed. We put the mask on. We don't want to see that. Can you tell me more about the 19 box cutters, please? That's where I'm at. That's where my aperture is. And those people aren't going to make it. They're not. They're going to create this. I think they're going to enter virtual reality. I think that's what's going to happen. And I'm saying that because of that. They're going to build a VR world for these people. And inside that VR world, it's going to be the 19 box cutters. It's going to be the story that's full of heroin. It's going to be the Hollywood equivalent to that. But the rest of us, the ones who are looking will simply bloom. That's all we're supposed to do, is just bloom. That's all. We're supposed to reinvent ourselves. We're supposed to connect to the land. That's why it's the best apocalypse ever. How many of us are planting gardens right now? If they truly wanted to enslave us, why are we planting gardens? Like, if they truly wanted to enslave us, why are we talking about exozones? Why are we questioning the narrative? Why are more and more of us? Why are there 84 people watching this broadcast? I mean, that's a lot. If you consider how far Flat Earth has come, it's come so far. So if they're trying to enslave us, why is it not working? And you can't say because, oh, humanity's so smart, we're so clever. We're not. We're not. Hunters tell me sometimes, oh, catching a wild turkey is hard. And I've been out running through the woods and I've come across a
Yeah,
wild
I've walked on them all the time.
and there's nothing hard about it. It's this bumbling, and the turkey's trying to fly away from me, and I have to stop. I have to slow down. I feel bad for the turkey. I'm like, I'm going to pretend like I tripped, and now the turkey's like, okay, I'm going to fly now. And as he's trying to get up, he's hitting every branch with his head. He's like, boo, boo, boo. That's us. And I'm not bashing man. I'm just telling you guys, that's how easy it is to get us to do. Look at credit card debt. Look at compound interest on a mortgage. Do you have any idea how much fraud that is? Mm-hmm. Look at all the spiritual usury stories. Look at all the stories we buy into. Look at the globe. If we're so clever that we would never be enslaved. And so the only reason why we're not enslaved is because we're so clever. Why are most of us like trying to kill each other because we don't believe in Ball Earth? Like there's nothing clever about where we're at right now. It's the opposite. And these people are, it's like when your brother teases you. You might think that he's just doing that because he's evil and mean, but he's actually not. That's helping you grow. That's helping you grow a stronger shell, a stronger spine. You need that stuff. If you don't have that stuff, you're going to end up in bad shape.
Yeah, I didn't let my little brother. We would play video games together. He was 15 years younger than me. Never once let him beat me. Not one time. Mm-hmm. And then one day there was one game and he did. And I congratulated him. I was like, good man. And he was so proud of himself.
Exactly.
But he knew I never let him beat me and that I never would. And I knew one day that he would.
And that's the difference. That's a higher level of love. In other words, you love him despite if he's happy with you or not. That mm-hmm. shows a deeper love versus.
He used to cry and throw the controller and. Oh yeah, I know he used to cuss me in his head, for sure.
I think we're experiencing the difference between Lord and God, and I think that to me has been the most profound aspect of this, which touches on what Zach's saying, because God is sort of like the coach. He doesn't actually enter the field. He's watching from the sidelines. But if he was to walk on the field and go, whoa, let's tie your shoe here, little Billy. Let's, hey, you got your shin guard on wrong. That would ruin the entire game. Instead, what you have is the coach is on the side of the field, and then you have a ref on the field. And the ref is the Lord. The coach is God. And this is why I think Prometheus is possible. Because we've always had in our mind that the Lord and the coach are the same. The ref and the coach are the same. And so when the ref throws out a yellow card or a red card, and what are the two towers of masonry? But a yellow card and a red card, right? Mercy and comfort, Jachin and Boaz. The Lord is not God. These are different roles. In fact, it would be very difficult for God to also be the Lord, because that would mean whenever someone has a call or a game is won or lost, half of God's children are losers now. And God's like, no, you guys are all great. But the ref has to, as the Lord, the ref has to declare, you are the winner in this game. You are the loser in this game. These are different roles. And I think that's why people are having such a hard time understanding this. That's why I think the Old Testament is the red card and the New Testament is the yellow card. It's literally showing you the difference between this, how the Lord works. Meanwhile, God is there the whole time. This other spirit, but he's not going to be on the field. You're not going to see that energy on the field, and that's why we don't. That's why so many of us lose the aperture. Well, the coach must not care about me because he's not wiping my nose. He did not come out here and wipe my nose, therefore he doesn't care. In fact, he sent his Lord out and gave me a freaking red card because I was offsides, and I wasn't even offsides. My God, no one loves me. And you end up in this state, don't you? And you know what? God loves you so much that he's not going to run on the field and go, oh, it's okay. I've been here the whole time. He would never do that to you. He would never embarrass you like that. He would never humiliate you like that. He's going to let you work this out. He's going to watch you spin off in your atheism, right? Spin off in that, no one loves me. All there is a Lord with red cards, and fuck this place. The world's a ball, man. It's a freaking ball. Screw everyone who thinks so. He's going to let you wallow in that. Why? Because that's how the game's played. That's why it's so important. It's because he loves you so much that you never see him out there. He'll never do that to you. Never, ever, ever. And that's crucial. But we don't see the difference yet between Lord and God. We can't even talk about it. That's why I think a lot of flat earthers don't really dig my take, because I'm separating Lord from God. I've separated those two terms, and that's uncomfortable. And if it makes any of y'all uncomfortable, please forgive me. I'm not trying to do that. This is all about aperture. You know, it's just my take on it is all I'm saying.
No, when they're translated into Hebrew, it's two different words that mean totally different things.
And
one
those
is plural.
Yep, exactly. And these are old stories. Old.
Now, I have a question for you. I'd love to know how. I'm not offended in any way. I'd like to hear different things, and I'm one that never believes 100% what anybody says. I like to filter the things through it and try to like find pieces of a puzzle. So you throw so many fun pieces to work with. I would like to know your take on like one of the biggest things I've learned by going through this awakening is so many vocabulary words don't mean it all.
Mhm.
But I thought so when you read a story and so we'll even use words in today's broadcast. Apocalypse, I always thought was a doomsday, everything ending and crashing down. And it turns out if you went to the etymology of it, it means an uncovering, an unveiling. Demons, I always thought were evil and awful. So if I'm reading literature and I come across demons, I think they're evil, or the way I've learned. But if you look up the word demon, it literally means somebody between human and God.
Yep.
There's no good or bad connotation to it at all. It's not there's zero evil
Right.
in the meaning of it. So I'm learning to reread things and look up words that I think I know intentionally always. And I'm so surprised at how often it's not at all. And I take it back to the etymology and the original meaning, because you're reading mythology and that's what it's written in. So the question is like that layer of deception put in, what play is that in it, that again it's that you have to figure it out, that things are not what you mean, and getting past that, where does that fall in? That's different than your parents telling you and making a discernment there. It's a little bit trickier. Do you have a thought on why that would be there, or what an attitude of gratitude or a thankful reason to have for that layer of what I call, to get to the truth?
Well, I think what demons are is our ancestors, abandoned ancestors. And I think that they've all been enslaved. I think that prana, I think belief is a tangible way of imbuing plasma, the ether. If you believe in your teddy bear when you're 5, that plasma that's attached to that teddy bear has a very, very strong charge to it, a charge that no other teddy bear would have. If you were to not see that teddy bear for 20 years, the moment you saw it, it would burst the prana would be redeemed in you instantly, like a charge. There's something intrinsic about belief, and that
It's
belief,
like going home, your birthplace, like
yeah,
your house you grew up in. You
That
see it and you're
feeling.
just like, wow.
all that prana that you poured into that is still there, and different elements hold different amounts of prana. For example, silver holds prana probably longer, but a child's prana is so powerful, and a teddy bear is such a good medium for that, that it holds things like that. All that said, demons are the absence of that prana. It's a vacuum prana. It's something that's forgotten, that didn't want to be forgotten. Trauma is a perfect example. A demon is made when you have a traumatic event that is covered up. That demon is exorcised from you by you abandoning it, by you forgetting what it was. All of us, when we're circumcised, we are comforted and soothed by our mom after that ritual. What I think happens because of that is that a demon is released from us, a part of us is lost and placed in the ether. When a demon doesn't have a place to go, it is tormented, it is wandering the canyon. What we're living in is a canyon of a bunch of echoed trauma that we call demons. The reason why we call them demons is because they have a will to them. But that will they have is will that we've imbued in it. We've imbued this spirit into it, and then it's been forgotten or unresolved. All that information, all that demon spirit, I know this sounds real crazy, but just anyway,
Like it.
all that spirit has been flooded and compressed into a technology. And that technology is ancient. It is so old. It is built into the scaffolding of the universe around us. That technology, the closest word we have to that technology would be magic. It's when you imbue, megaliths, grave sites, bones, temples, sacred rocks. These are all proof that different elements can hold our prana. They can hold our reverence in a long time, just like a teddy bear. That reverence can be released or broken into or desecrated. And that's what's creating these demons. Now, the weird part is this. I think a dude named Solomon who knew how the capsule worked, who knew what the technology was, he had the owner's manual to Amazon Alexa. Okay. There's an Amazon Alexa that's running in our world right now, and it's 13,000 years old. It's a very, very old Amazon Alexa. It's listening to your thoughts and will through ritual. If you cast a ritual, such as you bury your parent, you bury a loved one, you are creating a ritual that's activating this Amazon Alexa, this ancient technology. That ancient technology has certain functions built into it, one of which is it can call on the demon spirits that are lost, that do not have a place to go. It's able to uh, use the torque in the canyon of that sound. Imagine that sound canyon. It's able to place a spinning rotor, and is able to turn that into some sort of a motor, a belief motor. It's able to attract the prana and utilize it in some way. All these spirits have been brought together and collected into an antenna, a prana antenna. And I believe that that antenna right now is called Zionism. It's been called many things throughout the past. It used to be grounded in the groves, the spirit of Asherah. If you read the Old Testament, there was about 35 different demons that were competing for the one, the Lord. The Lord was very jealous and angry of these other demon technologies, and he would ensure that you must chop down that grove. Not only that, but after you win this battle, I want you to take an extra 3 or 4 days and literally burn all the skin off all these people so you can collect the bones. And then take those bones and I need you to grind them up in a fine powder. Then I need you to spread this powder 2 inches thick on top of all the, in other words, there's like massive amount of calories are being spent in the Old Testament, covering up, creating an amnesia over prana, over plasma, like creating these desecrated spots and then undesecrating them. I believe that's why you're looking at migration programs. I'm not just talking about Exodus. I'm talking about the coming to America. I'm talking about the movement through Europe. I'm talking about Russian migration, African migration. By moving people, they're not connected to the ground anymore. So they have, this is why we have mass amnesia. We've been disconnected from our pranic roots. These roots, when we bury someone in the soil, when we bury an ancestor, you're burying all their wisdom, all their reverence inside that spot. But then someone's coming along and either you're moving 10,000 miles away or they're spreading powdered bones on top of it. And now you're no longer able to pull that reverence up. That's why we have a battle with the serpent, with the snake. If you look back in the old stories, that's Pythos. It's Gaia. It's the spirit of the earth. And what we're cutting, Apollo, most of your Norse gods, anyone is cutting off the head of the snake. Conan, all these stories are about cutting off the head of the snake, but also your roots trying to connect you to the tree would feel like a snake reaching up, but we're told to cut that off. And that's why everyone has amnesia, because we're disconnected from these things. And when we're disconnected, our aperture scares us enough, or we're not able to see this energy. And because we're not using it, because we're not tapping into our ancestors, they are free to be enslaved by this other thing. This other thing is the shame vortex that we have around us, whether it be telling us you're a sinner, or you're xenophobic, or you're racist, or you're sexist, or you're toxically masculine, or you're fornicated pond scum, right? I mean, all these ideas of scientism are the same exact kind of energy. It's wrapping you in cellophane, packing tape, so you can't connect to the soil anymore. And so you can't see what's actually happening around you. And all that energy is being used as fuel to make it worse for you. And because this has been happening for generations, we now fear that energy. We now fear our ancestors. We are afraid of them now. We have demonized them. We fear them. This is the same energy that any shaman would be able to see. This is why shamans in Africa, the only ones that don't treat paranoid schizophrenia with drugs. It's not a disorder to them. They're telling you, this man has Aperture. He can help. But that's so terrifying to us, we'd rather demonize it. So literally the invention of demons is, I think, the direct result of our abandonment of our ancestors, of our land, of our roots, of our entire purpose for being here. You know, gravity is love. The reason why we don't understand gravity is because it's love. It's all 7 of your chakras are being pulled down to where God is, this soil. We are the living soil. And when you jump off the ground, God's going, hey, wait, where are you going? Where are you going? I love you. Don't go. Don't go. And that's why I don't think we can even exist. Our consciousness couldn't even exist in the exosphere. We're too far away from the base station. We're not able to render a signal. Our bone antenna cannot pick up data from that far, just like trying to live stream when you're out in the woods. It's not going to work. You're too far away from your connection. It's all this is, all these things make sense if you look at it from this aperture standpoint, this aperture, amnesia, ancient technology, flat earth, all these things seem to point to this beautiful apocalypse that we're all part of right now. And seriously, we are like the cutting edge of this. I don't mean to sound, being flat earth is being on the cutting edge of this. You have an aperture that's so wide open and you're taking all these arrows for keeping it. And it just makes it so much more important what you're doing. All we're doing is we're opening the world up where our ancestors are no longer abandoned. where we're connecting to the soil, we're planting gardens again, when we're eating that food, that's our connection. It's an asynchronous connection to the ground. It's so beautiful what's happening right now. And we're unlocking demons is what we're doing. We're if you think about what is a Sasquatch? A Sasquatch is a giant who forgot who he was. There were giants here, and they've been forgotten, and they've turned into Sasquatch. They think of themselves as these, bumbling guys. They don't even wear clothes anymore. Their hair's grown so long, they've turned into this furry woodland creature. But they're giants. They need us to remember. All of this needs us to remember. You're so powerful. You're so powerful. Our consciousness is. This whole world changes every day because of that. It's like I keep saying, best apocalypse ever, because more and more of us are waking up to this right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting time to be alive. I'm sure most times are, but I don't know. There's electricity in the air that I don't think happens.
Well, the 90s were not fun. Compared to right now, the 90s really sucked because it was this materialistic Medusa world of just, I couldn't have even imagined trying to think these things then, It was so tight. It was just so compressed. And you know what happened? 9/11. Weird, right?
No, but true. But true. I mean, I worked myself entirely through the 90, at least 60 hours every week. And you're right. It made you stop and think and look.
So was that a bad thing or a good thing? Do you see what I mean? I'm not even saying to answer it, but it's just that requires Aperture to go, are you freaking saying 9/11 was a good thing? And I'm saying, what did 9/11 do to your consciousness? What is it doing to your consciousness? And is that going to help or is that going to hurt the world? It's profound. It really is.
I think that there's that little piece of the creator in all of us. And they found through trial and error that you can't just stamp it out. You can't hide it under a bushel. You just got to let that bastard shine. That's all you can do. And I think a lot of what they're doing is with the pretext knowing that you can't stamp it out. It has to shine at least a little bit. So can we control the shine? Can we let it shine just enough to get them to shut the fuck up and go away without getting too out of control? But still have enough stamping power just in case they do.
Well, every part of that's going to have those. I think I did a stream called The Gifts of Baal, and that's what it really talked about. It really discussed the idea that there's no better way to refine your discernment than to chase you with needles. There's no better way to teach you the quality of life than to take your tax dollars and use it as a human sacrifice vehicle in Planned Parenthood. I mean, guys, why pedophilia is here. The reason why it's here is because of how poorly we respond to it when we see it. Because we'll base an entire campaign on QAnon and Pizzagate built on pedophilia. But we still won't go confront the local guy at our church or the local whoever. We're too afraid of that. We're still too afraid to go, hey, this person I know said that you did this. And they're too afraid too. They don't want you to say anything. So we look at them and we go, it's so evil because they're causing pedophilia. And my response is that pedophilia is necessary until we learn to discern, until we learn to understand how valuable life is, how important our children are. It's the same thing with abortion. Abortion is here to show us the value of life. These are the gifts of Baal. It's twisted. But isn't that how the ball would work? It would be twisting. It's like a sparring partner. That's the best way to look at it. Do you want a sparring partner that's going to be like, oh, hey, you're never going to learn from that. But if you walk in the gym and the sparring partner, like as soon as you walk out of the locker room, he freaking grabs you and puts you in a neck hold. You're going to be like, you're ready, man. And the next time you go, and the next time you go, and the next time you go, pretty soon, 8 months from now, you're like a badass. You're really good in that gym. And why? Because you always have that same Lord, red card, yellow card. You have that same sparring partner. It's not God. He's not God at all. It's completely the opposite of God. He can't be like God. You can't have a sparring partner coming out there going, yeah, James, I'd like to think about some compassion that you could have had for that person who was selling tomatoes yesterday at the store. Maybe we could review that. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen as effectively as a guy that's going to put you in a chokehold. Go, hey, you want a needle? I know you're tired. It's 4 a.m. Wake up, wake up, wake up. You got to take this needle quick because there's a giant virus coming. If you don't take this needle, you're going to die. And you're like, okay, quick. And you're pulling out your shirt and you're ready for it. Because you need more training. You need more discernment. And if $56 million isn't enough, we got a particle accelerator to sell you. You want a particle accelerator? We got one. It's expensive.
And it's huge. Yeah, lots of neat lights to look at and rockets to go up and big noises to be heard.
The bigger the lie, the more in your face it has to be for it to work. I tell people, imagine if there was a COVID checkpoint where instead of it being a dude dressed out in the gas mask, the whole hazmat suit with a clipboard and National Guard, they've got the road barricaded off. You're going to stop for that. But imagine if it's a 12-year-old kid in shorts in a folding chair with a sign that says, mandatory pull over for COVID check. You're not going to do that. You're not going to believe it. You would never believe, you would never stop. But if it's got all this fanfare around it, right? If it's got all this drama around it, if it's like a wrestling match, you're going to stop. You're going to believe it. And that's what every single thing happens in DC is. And as long as people keep believing in white hats in DC, we're going to have more pain. All it's going to do is bring us more and more and more pain. It's that hope people have of white hats in DC. It's just like abortion. It's just like pedophilia. How long is this necessary, James? How many more fake school shootings are there going to be? How many more PSYOPs are there going to be? The answer is, look at how you're dealing with the PSYOPs now. That's directly related to how many more are going to come. Those are the same curve. And it's the same with pedophilia. It's the same with war. It's the same with abortion. It's the same with, we dedicate an entire month to sodomy right now. Next month is National Sodomy Month. Think about it. But we couldn't assemble for the economy, but we're going to have a pride parade. It's how much more is it going to take? Well, we know that 1 month is obviously not enough. We need more of it. We need more Gretas. Look at how obvious Greta was. Come on, guys. That's a giveaway. Greta was a giveaway. Bill Gates is a giveaway. The entire COVID vaccine is a giveaway. There's not even a gold standard for this test. It was a giveaway. Those weren't people trying to fool you. They were trying to get you to catch them trying to fool them. It has to be. No one would be that dumb. Especially not an elite psychopath.
And Greta tried speaking up right there.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah, the movie Idiocracy comes to mind more and more and more.
Well, it's true, but at the same time, we're also changing because my mom never would have seen the things that I'm seeing in the government right now. My grandfather, no way. And my mom's smart. My mom's smarter than I am. But that's why this is about Aperture, It's not about anything else but Aperture. And that's why I have more compassion now for the flat earthers. I mean, the globe earthers, because I understand that they're not wrong. Guys, I guarantee you, if you could climb out of your cockpit and climb into a ball earther's cockpit, you would not see what you see right now.
Mm-mm.
You would not be comfortable seeing it. It's no different than Walt and his friend seeing a spaceship and him not seeing it. These people aren't lying. They're not. They're just not comfortable. And that's why it's always ridicule. That's why that Dave dude, it's always ridicule, because it hurts too much. You see what he's trying to do? He's trying to demonize you, right? They want to demonize you because it hurts too much. And whenever it hurts too much, you know it's because it's true. You know that there's truth there. There's something there that's resonating with truth. That's why it hurts. That's why it's always ridicule. Nothing else.
They don't have
Yeah,
much left.
I'm in one of those mind blown.
They definitely don't have much left.
And we have
So-
we have to be nicer to them. I know that sucks, but we have to be nicer to them.
I know it's been hard, but really I do. I actually feel sorry for these people.
They need compassion. Yeah, go ahead, Zach. You got it.
I've never been in their shoes. And I can almost guarantee most of these, especially like the secret society families, these people were brought up totally different than us. And like it's all about point of view. Their aperture is set differently than ours.
Mhm. Yep.
And I feel sorry for them because they weren't brought up with love and compassion and all these things that we had from our mothers and our fathers and other family members and friends and all this stuff that is like it's tried to be bred out of them from birth. And it's so sad when you think about it. I really do. I feel sorry for these people. All the wealth and riches in the world that they have, I don't believe that they're happy. I truly don't. Sorry, James.
No, don't be sorry about it. I've been dominating the conversation. I don't mean to do that.
No, I love it.
Oh,
Man.
that's why you're here, my friend. My God, that's why you're here, to blow our brains. Well, definitely watching this thing unfold from the perspective that unfortunately I've had with having to come to Oregon to help my mother's hospice. The seeing, years apart, my family and I, my sister and brother and I have lived in different states for at least 10, if not 20 years in my brother's case. So just my brother was actually very helpful in the early formation of Iron Room Media. He actually is the one who created our logo and helped us get our first website going. And so he was very open to looking into a lot of this.
We love you, Paul.
Right. My sister, however, would never, ever look at this. And so now here we are with the COVIDs everywhere trying to get us all, apparently, according to them. And it started out with a lot of just incredulous, like, no, y'all really are going to this extreme with this when I got here? Because I came here worried about my mom, not at all concerned about this fake thing I knew was blooming. And so they are living it hard. And it's really gone from resentment that they're making this whole thing where my mom's already got, an issue we're dealing with that's traumatic, stressful, making us all just emotionally traumatized, truly. And then add to that their level of just hook, line, and sinker with this thing. So there was some, making it harder than it needs to be with this extra craziness. We can't even go to a store just to get simple things we need. And so now I've come around to trying to understand and why and how over the years of this same woman who raised me to question and look at and go to the school and defend me, asking the teacher all the questions I would get in trouble for asking. But the other two apparently just never carried that through and just TV life. I don't know. I don't get it. That's what I've been wrestling with since I've been here is how does it take that route of just
Aperture.
And apparently it is all about the aperture. Today has definitely been the show I needed.
All your compassion will pour from your aperture once you see that, because you can truly look at someone and realize their eyes aren't closed. Their eyes are exactly as open as they're willing, as their comfort level will allow them to. And it's been wrong of me to expect them to open their cervix more. It's been wrong of me to expect them. I've taken it personally because I felt like they were abandoning me. because I'm pointing out this truth to them, and they're calling me a conspiracy theorist. But that's all. You have to understand what your world looks like. You know, what's profound, guys, is that your eyes do not see the world. They build the world. They build the world that you are comfortable with accepting. That's what's so freaking profound about it. Your eyes are building, they're building the world. This sees, and it tries to interpret all that truth that's coming into it in just the right amount of way. And it's like you're slipping into a hot bath, and it's got that water for you. And you're like, oh, that's too hot. It's like, no problem, no problem. And it's blowing on the water now. So it's okay. You can get in the water. You can get in. And as it's getting you in the water, it's taking out some heat. So, well, we're not going to show you demons. No, don't show him that, dude. Last time he showed him demons, he had to get a whole new bath water. He went to the bathroom. It's really gross. Ruined the bath water. Okay, so no more demons. Let's not show him God right now. That's too much for him. He's actually going to feel better if he feels like he's alone right now. I know it sounds weird, but that's what he needs. He's going to need the glasses of conspiracy theory. And here's what's amazing about this standpoint. This is why we have lies. If we did not have lies, my friends, if we did not have lies, none of us would be able to live in this co-created reality. What do you mean, James? Well, here's what I mean. If a glober could not call you a conspiracy theorist, if a glober did not have a concept that you could be lying, there would be a massive core dump of, it would be a break in the matrix, because two people would have to see something that neither one of them were comfortable with seeing. In other words, both of us cannot see the same information. But if we have lies, we now have this gelatinous matrix glue, which allows us to both be joined inside of the same system. It's like there's a slinky, and each of us can be as far away from or as close to the aperture of someone else, purely based on the amount of comfort we are willing to feel. And without that, to make that matrix work, to make that distance, that gooey distance work, you need lies. Because if you think about it, what is a zeteticist is truly only going to know about 0.5% of all the information he has in his head. It's all he can experience, right? Everything else is hearsay. That shows you that the fabric of our reality is only 0.5% made out of an actual structure, a scaffolding. It's what we've zetetically seen, right? This goes back to quantum theory too, right? The observer defines the reality for this. Everything else is this gooey matrix of lies, of insinuations, of false assumptions, of conspiracy theory. We need these words. We need the ability to lie to ourselves if we're going to live in a co-created shared reality. And that's why, I think that's why there's not a commandment that says thou shalt not lie. There's not a commandment that says you shouldn't lie to yourself. There's a commandment that says you shouldn't bear false witness against someone else. But there's not a commandment that says thou shalt not lie. It's because if we didn't have lies, each of us would be like a frozen possum, right? Like a deer that's been caught in the headlights. Each of us would be frozen in the world when we encounter something that's too uncomfortable. The lies allow us to push this distance, this packing tape between that truth and us. We have a lot of tools at our exposure. We can demonize it. We can use an ad hominem attack against the person who's bringing it to us, or we can call it a lie itself. This is a safety mechanism that we need so that our reality can stay safe. It can stay a tangible, real existence. That's why globers call flat earthers liars. Flat earthers will call globalists liars. We need that lying matrix. We need this matrix. That's what's so profound about it, is it's actually built in the scaffolding. I hope that makes sense, because it explains why God has created a world that has deceit in it. Because if you didn't have deceit, none of us would be able to have a co-created reality, because all of us would have to agree. our entire world would be frozen. It would be frozen. It wouldn't be in a pool where we can swim around. It would be surrounded in solid ice, because each of us have been able to see and determine exactly what the world is, and we all have to agree to it, which means all of us would end up in this frozen, weird matrix where nothing has any tangibility to it. And that's exactly the opposite of what we have, because we're co-creating this reality where we have this sovereign notion, not just to our actions, but to what we freaking see, to what our eyes actually pick up on, whether it be UFOs, Sasquatch, God, scientism, gravity, ISS, pear-shaped Earth, all of it. It's necessary parts of the matrix. Everything makes sense. The universe isn't broken. It's freaking perfect. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, like you said, it's when you see it in a certain way, everything makes sense. Just because you don't see it yet, don't give up on it.
And it's beautiful. It's actually beautiful. It's actually, there's nothing terrifying or elite. It's not like this devil, like, this spider thing. It's not that. It's this perfect system where every single thing makes sense. Where there's a reason for the red card. There's a reason for the yellow card. There's a reason why there's one ball. There's a reason why there's an out of bounds. There's a reason why there's an offside lines. There's a reason why we have to die. There's a reason why there's only 11 players allowed on the field at any time. It really is like a massive role-playing game. If you look at how the world works, and each of us renders our scene based on what? The video card that we have, right? Is our video card fast enough? Can it render at 60 frames per second? No, mine's real slow. I've got a laptop. Well, we'll show you at 24 frames per second. It's the same kind of analogy with truth. Can you see demons floating around? No. Do not have the render card for that. My video card will not render demons. No problem, man. No problem. We'll throttle you down to 12 frames a second. You can still exist. In 12 frames a second world, there are 19 box cutters. There's a magic turning bullet that goes into someone's body and then takes a 90-degree turn and comes back out again. That's your 12 frames per second world. And my parents are happy with that world. They're okay with that. And they're not wrong. They're not. They're version 0.44, 1944. I'm version 1971. You know, I'm a later version. I have more software in my Aperture installed. My epigenetics have come further along than theirs have, which means I'm capable of more Aperture. I'm capable of accepting, because they went through Vietnam, right? Because they went through Korea, right? Because of that, because of what they went through, I'm able to look at the Gulf War and go, this smells like caca. I'm more equipped for that because of what they went through. It's their sacrifice to me.
Wow.
You brought up, and I put it in the chat. Ooh. Wayne Dyer quote that when you change the way you look at things, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be a very favorite of mine, and what you're saying has made me like revisit that all over again.
Yep, it's the best apocalypse ever. All of this that's happening to us right now, it's fantastic.
I was watching Wayne Dyer one time. I don't know if these are his words or if he was quoting somebody else, which I think he was, now that I'm saying this out loud. But it was along the lines of, you can never solve a problem with the same brain that caused it.
I like that a lot.
And that's probably a horrible paraphrasing, but it's along those lines, I think. I remember that just had a really profound effect on me at the time.
Yeah, the whole brain eye thing has just really been blowing me away lately. The fact that all of our dopamine is generated in our retinas should tell you exactly what I'm saying is true. Because it's literally means that your eyes are going to be generating chemicals that make you feel good if you see a certain thing. And if you don't see a certain thing, it's going to restrict that chemical, which shows you that there's a throttle in your eyes. I think that's what that quote, Luke 23:33, I brought this up today. It's just powerful quote. I think this is part of the mystery. Sorry, I don't have it. Let me pull it up. I want to get it exactly right. That our eyes do not see, my friends. That's all I'm trying to say, is that our eyes do not see, they build the world. And when I read you this quote, I want you to think about the two halves of the brain, the two criminals, the right and the left. Luke 23:33, when they came to the place called the skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals, one on his right, one on his left. And he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's literally talking about his eyes. He's literally saying, these criminals between my left and my right, I am crucified between them. My life, the pineal gland of who I am, this hanging, dangling drip of
Little
life.
pine cone of life.
Yeah, it's suspended between two criminals, and they do not know what they do. The left brain is one criminal. The right brain is the other criminal. And one criminal actually said something to Jesus. He was like, save us all. And the other criminal was like, don't you get it, fool? We deserve to be here. It's living out the living Joachim and Boaz. It's living out. It's also showing you something really important, because Jesus says, one of the last things he says to one of those criminals is, don't worry, you'll find redemption with me. I know that's not what he says, but he basically says, you'll end up coming home with me. And here's what I'm trying to say: deceit, being a liar, being a thief, this deception that we've had to go through. Jesus is telling his brain, you are necessary. What you've been through is necessary. And the crucifixion, it has been my stretch between you, been my life between these two lobes, between these two giant resonating chambers. And then when you start to look at actually the cranium itself, the skull, you've got this occipital bone on the back, which is it's disconnected, isn't it? It's not actually fused to the rest of your brain, and that's all your vision. They put your vision in the back of your head. It's in the very rear. It's not in the front. You would think that they would have all your vision stuff right here, right? For quickest, because they argue about that all the time. Well, the reason why your left brain is over here and your right brain is over here is because it's faster. Well, then why are they putting vision all the way at the back of the brain? Why? And I'll tell you why. Because your eyes don't see. Your eyes build. This is what sees. And when they tell you it's asleep because of fluoride and that it's a dormant system, what they're really doing is telling you that you're not actually seeing the world at all, but you are. This is what blind sight is. If you were to take my left eye out, I would still be able to determine where things are. I would still know where they are. I wouldn't know how big they are. I wouldn't know exactly what it is, but I would know where spatially things are. That's called blind sight. It's built into our system. You can look this up on Wikipedia. There's nothing hooty-gooey about this stuff. You're able to see without your eyes. And I think that's what this is all about. The pine cone, all of this is about that. And that's why it's the one thing in your head that science never talks about. They never talk about it. They tell you it's a forgotten relic of your
Yeah, they avoid it like the plague.
They do. They completely avoid it. They pretend like it means nothing. In fact, not only do they pretend like it means nothing, but they tell you that it's full of fluoride anyway, and it doesn't even work.
I had a nurse of over 20 years tell me you don't have a gland in your brain.
Wow.
Yeah. Like you've never heard of the pineal gland. There's no gland in your brain. I said, okay.
Yeah.
That's the end of this conversation.
Exactly.
I have can I get personal with this, James, on me personal, and get your thoughts on it? Because I've been confused on how I've even dealt with something, but what you've just said has blown me away. So I'm going to give you some of my personal history. Coming back from the Flat Earth Conference in Edmonton, or coming back from Edmonton in the conference there, flying, I tore my retina. Got a hole, tore all the way across, went down, and I don't recommend this to anybody. The surgery, you have to have an emergency surgery within 24 hours, and the recovery, and especially if you're at a high altitude like I am in Denver with the type of gas they use, it's 8 weeks where you have to keep your face in the down position for 8 weeks to keep pressure. They fill your eye up with gas and that to get the retina to reattach and that. So this is just like the gross part of it. But coming out of it, the surgery didn't take all of the way. And now what's left with my vision in that eye is it's very fuzzy, but it's turned on. It's ultra turned on. I can't turn like the eye off. It's turned on. It's brighter than the other eye. And I can only see like the blues and the whites and the purples in the spectrum. I have no anything that's orange, red, going towards beige, and that entirely grays out. It just doesn't exist. And it's much, again, brighter and intense than my other eye. They said that they, when they worked on it, there's not a lot of hope. They could turn the eye off. I don't want it turned off. And I don't even like you. Driving is a nightmare for me now. A lot of things, even walking, balance. I read a unicycle, little things, playing ping pong. Everything is a new experience for me. And yet I don't feel right about having a patch on. It feels wrong, like I'm blocking something, and I feel disconnected when I don't have the bright lights and everything coming in on it and it being brighter. And I've been trying to reconcile, saying, it would make sense to shut the eye off or, keep a patch to not have all of the distraction. And yet everything in me feels it's wrong.
Mhm.
Is
Well,
there any thought on that with what you're saying with the dopamine, or a reason that like I'm not wanting to patch because it's coming in or coming in differently, or the energies?
well, my first guess, which total guess, is that maybe the apprehension is more because we've been clinging. I'm not trying to say just you, Cami, but we have been clinging to our eyes because we've been told they're the things that give us sight. And so it would make sense that any of us would cling to one of our eyes if we were to think we were to lose it.
Okay, I'm going to make it stranger than this. I'm going to add in another layer of strangeness. Before this happened on this eye, as a child, I had a lazy eye in this eye, and they never got it to turn on. And so my problem with the eye before was the only way I could see out of the eye was by putting a patch over my right eye. Otherwise, they told me that my brain just, automatically shut it off because it was blurrier and out of version, and I did all kinds of exercises in that. So I was technically, like on my license, it said I was legally blind out of this eye before this happened. When this happened was the first time I've ever felt light coming into the eye. So I'm not losing anything. I gained a new sensation that makes me dizzy, but patching it would just take it back to where I was the old way, but that doesn't feel right. I mean, it feels completely innately wrong, even though I'm used to having only looking out of one eye. In other words, being turned on was completely brand new for my entire life. It's never been turned on.
Yeah.
It's new. It's new. It's distracting. It's blurry. But there's something about it I like, or I'm that again, I cannot intellectually rationalize it. There's no intellectual rationalization for it. The rationalization should be you've gone your whole life. If they do a shot and kill the eye, you're back to where you used to be and you're no worse off. I mean, you could drive better, you could do everything better, just like if I put it on in the car, yet I can't make myself put a patch on or do that. I feel almost like I would be killing something.
Yeah. Well, I would read heavily into blind sight as much as you could, and also consider, because blind sight doesn't talk about this, but consider that what's actually happening is that your third eye is seeing the world, and it's sending information into your optic nerve, and then it's broadcasting the retinas, the socket. It's telling the socket, hey, look, here's what she's going to be able to handle seeing. So here's your aperture for that eye. Feel free to build the world that fits this aperture that Cami has, and that's what your eye's doing. It's trying to fill in with what circuitry it has the best that it can for what the third eye is actually interpreting. And that it could be that by closing that eye, by putting a patch over it, you're going to be burning a lot more calories, but you're going to rebuild your world and be able to see it in this blind sight way, which is a very different way of interpreting it. And I'll tell you something interesting about the blind sight is that when they're doing studies on these people that have blind sight, they're noticing that the subjects themselves are not able to make guesses. This is so important. They're asking the subject, like you can see me. So it's like they're holding something in front of their left eye, and let's say it's a lemon, and the subject doesn't know that there's a lemon in front of them. They don't even know, right? But then the doctor asks the subject, "Is there a lemon in front of your left eye?" And as soon as they ask that, the person goes, "Yes, there is a lemon." And then it would ask, "Is there an orange?" And they would go, no, there's not an orange. The profound part here is that the intuition has been cut off. The gut feeling, the gut confidence, in other words, they know the answer. But what I think is happening is the neocortex is telling the limbic system, no, you do not see. What, Scotty, I do not like you. See, Scotty's down in the engine room. He doesn't have windows, but he's got his stethoscope up to the side of the hull. And he's like, there's a freaking Klingon at 4:00. But the captain's like, dude, we do not get visual information from you. We get it from Uhura up here. She's the one that tells us what it is. Scotty, stop doing that. And what's happening in these blindsided experiments is the body knows. Scotty's telling the captain, dude, there's a freaking orange. I mean, there's a lemon. It's a lemon. It's right there. But it's only by cueing Scotty does our body start to listen. And I think there's a truth to that about how the limbic system is reacting first, and then a quarter of a second later, your neocortex comes in. And I think that's what's happening. So if you were to study this stuff and practice with your eye, I'd really love for you to look at it like a Jedi experiment. You know, like when Luke Skywalker is trying to see that thing and he's like wandering around. Really spend some time on that. Really believe, but you have to believe that you have blind sight, because if you don't believe it, your neurons aren't going to try and connect. They're not going to make those connections for you. It could be that this could be the best thing that ever happened to your sight, only because of, the previous things that you had mentioned. That's what I would be.
It's intriguing right there when I've been on there. It's probably not blind sight the way that you understand it, but why on the phone and listening to you, I went into my kitchen, closed my eyes, I held a tomato in front of it. I couldn't even tell, and I'm holding it like just arm's length away. I could not tell I had anything out there at all. It just blended into the background. I did a lemon. I could kind of make out a gray outline. And then I picked up a bag of aqua blue green oven roasted almonds. That's a bright aqua thing. I can make out the entire shape. I can tell where the lettering goes to white. I can almost read it.
Yep.
I mean, it's that crisp.
Yep. And that, I think that shows you that you are building, you are building what circuitry you have. You are able to build that world to show you, well, here's what the world would look like through this circuitry right now, because we're missing, this Ethernet cable isn't plugged in anymore. These two have half the strand is plugged in.
Uh-huh.
The rest of this network's full on. So yeah, we can, all the turquoise is going to be fine. No problem, Scotty. That orange and yellow, you're going to have an issue. Yeah, you're going to have to route that up through central holding. They're going to have to check that out. And so your world's just building, well, what would that look like? I need to show Cammie what that would look like. If all this was real, in other words, if all these force fields of energy were truly real, this is what it would look like. It would have a skin of a lemon, it would be permeable. You wouldn't be able to, or it'd be impermeable, that kind of thing. It's our eyes are building this world for us, probably based off pure energy, right? I mean, wouldn't you think that if you could truly see the world, it would probably just be all energy? But that's really difficult. That's really difficult to swim through. It's better that if we don't just see the ocean, but we see fish, we see kelp, we see these different systems inside, we see currents. So we have to build these false facades, literally a facade. Your skin is a facade that makes you think it's a person, but actually it's just a coating, a membrane, that's connected.
Doesn't it take a few days for our eyes to be able to see anything, like once we're born? What if our eyes are actually looking at the real world then?
I don't know.
Time to adjust to,
I think it has to build it from the ground up. It has to decide what is the most likely thing that what would the nipple look like? I'm going with the baby thing here, right? A baby's going to probably nurse on a nipple. So what would my eyes visualize a nipple looking like? I know tactily what it feels like, right? I know spatially what it feels like. So how could I use these retina holes, these gaping holes of dopamine? How can I use my dopamine holes to broadcast what this would look like? I really feel that that's what the nature of reality is that how would this broadcast? Because if you look at what the brain's doing, your eyes, your smell, your hearing, all of those are coming through as pulses. They're all just electrical pulses. They're all exactly the same. Your brain processes smell, hearing, sight. All of that is the same kind of electrical pulses that actually have the same voltage gap, like negative 40 millivolts or to like 70 millivolts. They're all inside that range, which means that there's not a profound difference between our hearing versus our sight versus our touch, which tells me that it's all centralized. It's all coming through for a pineal. And one more thing on that to really prove the point, you guys do know that your hearing has to slow information down, right? From your sight. In other words, information is coming at different rates and your brain is reconstructing that information to make the math work. I think this proves even more what I'm saying about the third eye, because you would need, if you have all these different rates happening, you still
You
need
need a
one
processor.
receptor. Yeah, you need one processor that's going to have a master time clock. If you think about it, which chip came in first to UPS? It was the one that hit the server in San Francisco, not the one in Las Vegas. They had the first transaction. The second transaction came through here. That's why I'm saying I think our third eye is doing all the work, because you would need a centralized data center for all the world around you, so you could even make sense of what's first. Because think about it, your ears would get data before this ear would anyway. You're going to have a center. You're going to have something that's going to be able to be that the front gate, so to speak. This is our gate. This is our front gate. This is our needle right here, our record needle.
Now, what's interesting about that, and another reason that I realize I don't want to kill it off, is one of my favorite things and one of my favorite sensations now is being outside, and just the color changes between inside and outside. But the colors I can pick up is the bright blue of the sky, and I start picking up color at green, so it's a lighter green and faded and softer. But the outside, I can see outside with that eye, and when I do, if I close my right eye now and look straight through the eye that I don't see really at all indoors, again, it's a mess. But if it's just like the blue skies and the trees or that, it almost has an electrical feeling. It's like I said, it's brighter, it's intense, and it has an electrical pulsing feeling. And one of the things that really calms me is going outside, closing the eye, I can see and seeing I feel like it's almost more real through that eye.
Yep.
But again, the color tones that you get to, you don't have the red, you do with mushrooms and things like that. But overall, the colors that I don't see that you'll see inside a lot of, when you get to a bright blue sky, it's all of a sudden my world opens up.
Have you gone through a whole day where that eye's been covered?
No. And I haven't on either one of them. They've suggested it if I wanted to try to make it stronger or turn it off, because again, it's kind of disabling in a way through normal things, and yet I haven't felt right about it. I feel better closing my good eye than my bad eye in a way. I mean, I'm finding myself doing that more often and seeing what I see through the fuzzy eye.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just going to say that if you ever have time for that, I realize that's hard, but that might be an interesting experiment, is to try and close that eye for a full day. And then, especially at sunset and sunrise, go outside and see what it feels like. See if there's more information coming in through that plasma, See
Now,
if
which eye am I closing, my good eye or my bad eye? Which one am I closing and which one am I leaving open?
I would
for
say
a
your
whole
bad
day?
eye. Yeah, I would say your bad eye. Close your bad eye
And
for a
just
whole
look through
day.
the other one. So that's the way that's the way life used to be for me every day, though.
Gotcha.
I guess I haven't done it because I know what that's like. That was my norm for 55 years.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's
And then closing the other eye, I would run into things a lot inside. I could only probably close my good eye and be off of my bad eye if I was outdoors and open where there wasn't things to trip over because again, things entirely in the wrong color thing entirely disappear.
Mhm. Yeah, there's like 4 different functions that come into your eye, because your macular vision is going to be your focused vision, like think about it like an obelisk. You're sending a ray out of your eye directly to a point, like a red laser pointer. And then you've got your peripheral vision. So those are 2. But then additionally to that, you have different crossovers. Your optic nerve is crossing over to the other side of your brain, and it's processing. One side is processing spatial simulations, the other is processing measurements and precision. So you've got these 4 different prongs that actually go into each eye where the processing is happening at all these different spots. It would make sense that I guess I'm just trying to say it makes sense to me that there's this other thing. There's this other perceiver there, which was telling me that third eye has all the information you need. It knows that there's a lemon to your left, but because it's routing through the same brain, it's not able to predict anymore how big that lemon is, and it doesn't have the confidence to guess. In fact, if you look at blind sight, kids like babies that had a problem with their optic nerve still were able to see, but it's only because they were so young that their brain was willing. It wasn't clinging. This is kind of what I'm sort of suggesting, Cami, is that I think that all of us would naturally want to cling to that eye, to go, no, I need you to see. But the baby was able to rebuild its eye structure precisely because it didn't have that crutch built into its vision. It was able to renegotiate and rewire itself. And that child was actually able to play video games, navigate space, like the environment. He's able to play sports. He's able to do everything with the exception of he couldn't read an eye chart, a flat eye chart, like he was very nearsighted. So he lost that capability. But everything else, he had full vision, even though technically his left eye did not work at all. At all. But he has complete vision in that eye. It's fascinating that happens.
I don't know for people, here's a neat trick for people just to see normally what your brain does with eyesight. But if you hold your hand in front of one of your eyes, leave both your eyes open and don't touch your face, don't touch your hand to your face, but just hold it out like 1.5 inches, 2 inches in front of your eye and look and read at the screen. And pretty soon you'll notice you'll quit seeing your hand. Your brain will just turn it off. And that's what technically should be happening.
Yeah. The same thing happens when you, if you, the phantom limb syndrome, where if you're itching your right hand itches and you've got a mirror of your left hand, if you scratch your left hand, your right hand will feel better. It's cross wiring. It works both ways, is what I'm trying to say. Your brain can fool your nervous system to receive thing from one and send it to another, but also vice versa. A stimulus sent into another thing, if it's fooled by the brain, the switch, it will route it to the proper location. That's why people that have phantom limb syndrome, that suffer from an itch in their phantom limb, can actually find relief in this mirror test by scratching their arm, but looking at it in a mirror so it looks like it's their other arm. It's these same tricks that we do. It literally shows you that we've got it all backwards. We think that the world is pouring into our eyes and we're seeing it. Because I'm here to tell you, it's not the case. We're pouring the world into the back of our retinas, into our eye sockets. And we're using that to determine what light we're going to feed, how it's going to come in so that it paints that world in an accurate, precise way. It's got to be through this gland. It has to be. Where else would it be coming from?
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And anybody, I apologize. I used you a lot on this, James, for personal information, but I am fascinated and I've learned so much. And thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's always awesome to have you on, James. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Oh, it's a blessing to be here.
I wanted to make sure we touched on something. I've seen all sorts of contributions, and it's heartwarming to see. But can you touch on this little hashtag, humanity is not a virus, that you've kicked off, and what's been going on with that?
Sure. Yeah. What I wanted to do was just giving us some kind of actionable thing that we could do to combat this idea. You know, we're going around telling everybody that humanity is a virus. We're in fact, I don't know if how many of us have actually really just really listened to this. Here's what I mean. Have you lost people to COVID? I have. They decided we couldn't be friends because I do not believe in their virus. They say I am dangerous to their salvation for not wearing a mask. They refuse to interact with me until I repent. They want me to admit my lungs are tainted. They want me to see the sin in not covering my face. They require that I believe that my own body's exosomes are evil. This is a religion. What I've just described to you is what a religious cult does. And that's why humanity is not a virus is kind of the only antidote I could come up with to that. This idea of basically humanity as a virus is people just taking stickers, you know, mailing labels, tape, name tags, whatever it takes, and placing these humanity is not a virus on top of the COVID, all the COVID signs you're seeing, you know, do not enter this place unless you have a mask and you got to wear this butt plug and your underarms are secreting COVID and you need to crawl on your hands and knees because COVID floats like farts and you got to keep your head down and stop, drop, and roll. And people are like, yes, 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 more of that, please. And so humanity as a virus is a direct fix to that insanity. And it's really taken off. All these people have been sending in cool stuff. Can you guys see these? It's just a few of them.
Yeah.
But like people all over have been placing these. Humanity's not a virus. That one's fun. But humanity's not a virus. Humanity's not a virus. This guy in Maine, someone on the beach,
Nice.
back of their car, on the mailbox,
Love this.
on their car, letters, parks, mailings. This one all the way in oh man, where are you, Ben? You're in Shanghai. That's not right. It's somewhere, you know, far away, right? Chinese writing.
In the East.
So yeah, all this stuff, people have been really taking off doing it, and they're looking at Dr. Kaufman's work. They're rethinking what viruses are, what they're not, and just a beautiful program that it's again part of the apocalypse, best apocalypse ever. Nothing could have done more to change our thinking when it comes to medicine and the bullshit of medicine than COVID. I can't think of anything else that's done more to expose what's been happening in our medical industry, this war on our bodies. We're you know, if you read any of my books, you know I write a lot about the placebo effect, about how powerful that is. And it's profound, guys, because our viruses are the firemen of our cells. And imagine every time someone wants to put out a fire in your community, imagine everyone lining up and trying to stop the firemen from doing their job. Imagine everyone declaring war on the firemen because a fire keeps breaking out. And that's what we're doing with our bodies, with vaccines. That's what we're doing. We're injecting swine parts into each other. And we're telling each other it's because we have to fight the firemen. Those firemen are going, there's going to be more fires if we don't take out these firemen. That's what we're doing right now. We have a cult based on that. And I can prove it's a cult. I can prove it because they say I'm dangerous and their salvation requires that I wear a mask. They say that I have to repent and I have to admit that I am a sinner, that I am tainted inside, that my lungs breathe poison that will destroy innocent children and lives if I do not cover my face. Guys, that's a religion. It's a cult. And I think it's part of the apocalypse because you have this shame. What's happening with the apocalypse is that the truth is so strong that anyone who's ashamed of the lies that they've been a part of is now exercising that shame by wearing a mask. I really, really believe that's what you're seeing. All these people that are wearing masks are actually ashamed. They don't know it. Their aperture, you see what I mean? The aperture is fooling them. The aperture is telling you, you need to wear a mask because of the virus. But what's happening is that they're afraid to show their face. They're ashamed of all the lies that they've been a part of. And who else has it hard? Just like the military had it really hard. When we start to look at the reality of what America does, every 15 months we bomb another country. Every 15 months since World War II. Just like soldiers had that super hard coming home from Vietnam and Korea, right now nurses have that really hard because they're realizing they've been a part of a conglomerate that hasn't been helping the human body at all. It's been doing the exact opposite. And if you want to know how long pedophilia is going to be around, and I told you it's going to be around as long as we react poorly to it. Vaccines are going to be around as long as we keep giving them to people. That's how long they're going to be around. All these things are going to be around until enough nurses do what enough soldiers had to do beforehand and say, I'm stopping this madness. I can't do this anymore. This is insanity. And when you start to realize that, you're going to feel shame. I felt shame. I'll think of all the whales that I hurt because I was in the military as a sonar tech. That hurt a lot of whales. I wanted them to stop, and I asked them to stop, and they wouldn't do it. It's the same kind of shame. And that's why people are wearing masks right now. Their aperture is showing you guys how reality works. It's a co-created reality, which means your aperture is going to have to adjust to every aperture around you. It's going to use lies to build that adjustment. But you're going to end up with this weird amalgamated thing where half the people are wandering around in masks because they're ashamed of the apocalypse. I think that's truly what's really happening here is they're ashamed of the apocalypse. These people that work in hospitals will not even look at this video by Dr. Kaufman. It's a 30-minute video we produced where he's Duke MIT trained doctor. And I've got friends that I've grown up with that are nurses that won't even look at it because he has to be a crackpot. They haven't even watched the movie yet. He has to be a crackpot, even though they know James True's reputation. In other words, you know, I've been around these people my whole life. They've always come to me for advice. They've always said, James, you always know what to say. You helped me through this divorce. You helped me through this. You helped me figure out this. You helped me with this. But you're wrong about this. You're a freaking liar. You're irresponsible. How dare you? It's showing you how the aperture has to work. They're not willing to see. They do not have the retina receptor for medicine actually being the cause of all these problems. So they're going to do whatever else they can. They're going to call me a kook. They're going to call Dr. Kaufman wrong, and they're going to feel shame instead. They're going to feel shame. And that's what you see right now all around us. Negotiation of truth. That's what you're seeing all around us. The Pavlovian drool balls. That's what eyes are, guys. Pavlovian drool balls. What does that mean? What is Pavlov? When you ring a bell, right? He drools. When your eyes have a bell that's rung, they see. Your your occipital lobe's going to give them, dude, here's all that you need to see. I'm keeping out the Sasquatch that's eating your Cheerios right now. You're not going to be able to handle that. He's sniffing around your Cheerios right now. We're not going to show you that. I'm going to show you everything else but that. And sometimes you're going to see a floating spoon. Sometimes you're going to see an airship go by. Why do we see UFOs? It's because our aperture is like, okay, I want to accept that there is energy that I don't understand, but I need it to be in a format that is comfortable for me. So here's your choices. Fairies, demons, Tinkerbells, UFOs, right? Sasquatch, giants, all these are the same thing. It's our negotiation with the land saying, yes, I do want to see more. Yes, I do understand there's something else more there, but what do I call it? What's going to be most comfortable to call it? And what I call things is turkey, crow, eagle. These are this exact same thing, guys. It's this amazing energy that blows your mind, but only some of us get to see it. Only some of us have the experience where we've encountered these animals. That's what's happening right now all around us. It's profound. It's profound what's happening all around us. And if we have enough compassion for it, we're going to be in for the greatest ride of our lives. It's already happening. It's happening right now.
It surely is. Hashtag humanity is not a virus.
Humanity is not a virus. In fact, viruses are good things.
Now, I was walking with a guy. We were camping on a mountain up in Tennessee for, is it Shavuot? Yeah, not Sukkot, but Shavuot. And where you do the week of unleavened bread and all that kind of stuff. It was really neat. But we were walking. It was like the middle of the night, probably like 2:00 in the morning, and there was a herd of deer there, and it was a state park. And he was like, "Watch, they're not going to run from us. They know that we're not going to hurt them in any way." And we were like, right up. And Hank was with me, and he was being cool. He wasn't barking or nothing. And then we got kind of real close to him, and they like tried it off a little bit, and they stopped and started eating over here. He's like, "You want to see something weird now? Now I'm going to point my finger at them and just tell them, I'm not going to make a sound, but in my brain, I'm going to tell them that I want to shoot them, kill them." And as soon as he did it, like 3 seconds later, they all like looked up and ran.
Wow. That's
I was like mind blown.
wow.
Wow.
That's so awesome. Man, that's awesome.
So yeah, I think we can actually amplify these just like stars do, and they affect us, and the planets and all this stuff affects us from above. I think people, if you know that you can do these things, that you can, it's not like something that you practice. It's something that you know.
I agree.
And
that's why
then you can do it.
That's why my book is called Technology of Belief, because I'm trying to get people to understand that belief is a reverence that you can pour into tangible ether, something that you can hold, right? If you can hold it, then it can accept your belief. You can pour prana into objects, teddy bears, children, plants, pets. Why do some dogs live 18 years and other dogs live 12, right? Why do some plants make it multi-generational? Others die in 4 days. This is all about our reverence management, our ability to pour reverence into something. It's going to either cause it to bloom or it's going to cause it to die. It's all going to be based on how much reverence, how much prana we give that object. It's so profound. Walt knows.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this silver with me since that night in the moonlight, my friend. And my mom's had it. She's played with it. She loved it. She was like, "Oh, it feels neat." I'm like, "I know, it's full of good stuff. Put more good stuff in it for me." And she has been. So.
Yep. And the more we believe that, the more it transfers over. That's what keepsakes are. When you're given something from your grandfather, you know it has tangible value. It's greater than anything else. It holds that prana more. It's the exact same technology. When you're in second grade and you're sent to public school and your mom makes you a sandwich and it's placed in a paper bag, and it's time for lunch and you go get that paper bag and you grab the wrong paper bag, you know the second you touch that bag, something doesn't feel right. Something isn't right about this. And you can open that bag and it may have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in it, but it's not the same. It's lacking.
It's not going to taste anything like
important. Yes, it's lacking
Mm-hmm.
something very important that you need, that you're used to, that you have a habit for, a fetish for. And that is fetish is not a bad word, guys. That is the DNA signature of your mom smeared with a knife and rubbed with jelly on top, placed between two breads, wrapped in a saran wrap. Even though every other sandwich has the same ingredients, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very special sandwich.
Your mother intended you to eat that.
Yes.
It was intended for you.
It's the same way with soil. It's the same way with soil. You are connected to that soil. If you're going to get up and move from that soil, it's going to take you a long time to rebuild roots. People might think, well, no, if you pull a plant out of the ground and put it 10 feet away and put it back in the ground, it'll be fine. And it will look like it's fine. It will appear to look like it's fine. But anyone who knows, anyone who's done gardening, that no, that thing's at least a couple years away from being back where it was again, where it was fully firmly connected to the soil. That's what's happening to us right now. And it's because our prana is being uplifted, it's being uprooted. We're living on corporate land. That's what's so bad about it. Corporate land is dead land. It's owned by dead people. Most of us are renting houses that are owned by a dead person, a corporation. Corporation owns this house. It's a mortgage. It's all around a death. It's harder for me to plant my prana in the soil from this place because of that extra shield of energy around it. This house is wrapped in a bubble of energy that says, I am owned by a corporate bank. It's part of it. All of us see that all the time. Most of us grow up in a world that's completely wrapped in that. That's why our uniforms, the clothing you wear, the attitude you have, the haircut you have, the fashion you have, these are electrical trances that we put on like clothing. We wrap ourselves in that electrical field. That's why it's easier for a person in the army. During the war, what happens? Two people shoot each other over fashion. They shoot the other guy because he's wearing the wrong colors. You don't ask the guy before you shoot him, hey, what's your socio-political standpoint when it comes to modern government?
Yeah, a guy could be like, hey, man, I'm from Michigan. I like blue. What are you shooting at me for?
You never know. All those decisions are based on fashion, and that's showing you that it's the energy of the world is more true. That's the prana economy underneath. We keep pretending that the words we say are real, that what we say is what we mean, and that what our brain says is true. And no, our brain is in the back of the carriage constantly saying, I meant to go that way. I meant to go that way. I meant to go this way too. Their emotions are driving our horses more than we're willing to admit. Our willingness to see something is what's really driving the horses. It's really, really the truth of what's steering us is what we're willing to embrace. And it's this guy on the very, very back that's just trying to tell everyone on board. Yeah. No, we meant to jump over that gully, and yeah, we're about to go around this corner, but yeah, this is all on purpose. All this is all part of it. I know exactly what I'm doing, and we don't. At least most of us don't. It's until we find the right aperture. But that's a hard aperture, man, because when you really understand that everything you do affects everything else, I think that's really that's why so few of us have been able to see the world in that way, because it requires so much energy to even fathom how much our thoughts, our breath, our emotion, everything about us affects everything around us in such a tremendous way. It's just too much for most of us to handle. We just can't see it, so we don't.
Yeah, it makes your brain hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's called living in clip. It's burning out you're blowing your fuse, right? You would blow the fuse because it's too much amperage. You need a gate there. You need some kind of gate that's going to keep it tuned down.
I have one event that I did. I blacked out. I was about 13, 14, somewhere around there, playing hide and go seek. And I saw my buddy's older brother die in a motorcycle accident. Just right there, I was in front of the house, and it happened. It was a big front yard, maybe 30 yards, but not, half a mile away. It happened right there. But I don't remember any of it. I remember watching him drive down the road. I remember seeing the bike hit, and the girl flew off like a Roman candle. I remember that part. And then the next thing I remember is I woke up in my room, sitting on the thing with sirens going off. A bunch of people standing around where it happened. Yeah, and I cannot recall. I've tried and tried and tried, even though I don't want to. Maybe that's the reason I don't. I don't know.
Imagine what it's like to be a baby and you're born in the world and you can see everything and you do not have the language capacity to tell anyone about it. So you're literally watching the doctor spank you to try and get you to cry. Meanwhile, there's a giant Sasquatch Wookiee right behind him, right? He's got 17 tentacles coming out of his ear, and he's playing banjo, and you're just like, and you're speechless. You're speechless. You can't even fathom. And I think that's why babies see all, because they don't fear. You see what I mean? Like baby doesn't have enough rationality to fear.
Mhm.
So you're looking at it, and guys, this is why they have the black eye ceremony. My novel's all about this. This is why all these elite end up with this bruised black eye. I think what they're doing is that they're finding a way to override one of their eyes, where it's just going to show them everything. Like imagine if you could stifle the dopamine restriction, not the dopamine input, the dopamine restriction, because I think that's how it's controlling your sight. Imagine if there's a procedure that you could have an injection that numbs or dulls or deactivates the inhibitors for that dopamine. It would give your eye the ability to see and process all of it. And that's why all these elite have this one bad eye, because they've gone in for this ceremony and they're proud of it. They're showing the rest of the world, I have an all-seeing eye now. It actually would be over here. No, wait, it would be over here. Wait, left eye. Yeah. I have an all-seeing eye now. My image is reversed, if you guys are wondering. I have an all-seeing eye now, is what they're saying. They're telling everyone. I can see all demons. I can see all Sasquatch. I see things for what they truly are. I don't need an eye to construct it. Think about it like your eye. Your eye is a backstage manager. That's really what he is. He's in charge of all the actors' costumes. And he's like, no, you can't go out there, Mr. Energy Bubble. No. You need a costume. This is a PG-13 show. If you're going to come out on stage, you can either dress as the Sasquatch, a demon, or an angel. But you can't just go out there like that. You can't go out there like pure energy. What are you, nuts? We're going to close down the whole show. So put on this costume and then come out. That's really what your eye's doing. So as a baby, your baby's like, hey, man, bring it all. Fine with me. What, Ganesh with 17 nipples? Hey, I'll do it. Whatever. It's cool. Bring it. Whatever you want to bring. And that's when you're probably seeing through skin at that point. Because think about it. Most of the material world that we see is air. It's space. I think our eyes are filling in the skin around those objects because it doesn't want us to be confused. It wants us to have an easy, navigatable world. Imagine having to process everyone's internal organs. It's better just to see them as skin. It's a nice, convenient outer coating. But as a baby, you haven't made those decisions yet. You may still try to see your mom as a living limbic system where all these glands are filling up, and you're seeing this raw.
Like the art of Alex Gray.
Yes, exactly, Walt. Yes, exactly. Like Alex Gray, the art of Alex Gray, where you're seeing that reality. Why would you not see it that way, guys? If you think about it, why would you not see it that way? Look at how much of what we're calling the molecular world, which I realize is flawed, but look at how much of that is actually just space. Most of it is space. But we see the electrical field because it's all electrical. And we see the electrical field, so we build the necessary coloring for it to say that's what this is. No different, right? You know how a dog sees black and white? He sees the world in black and white. Why? Because he needs smell. The smell comes in as color. Think about if his eyes were already seeing everything in full color, then his smell came in. He wouldn't be able to see smell anymore. He would need to limit his eyes to black and white so the smell can be broadcast on top of it as the color. It's all this is to make us see better, not worse. Yeah, that guy.
James, we're typing in, like I'm typing in how mesmerizing you are to listen to. So mesmerizing. We forget sometimes that we're on panel. We lost it. Oh, we're sharing now. Okay.
Yeah, Walt's showing you Alex Gray.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's all energy.
It's all energy.
Chemical reactions, muscle contractions.
Yeah. It's all energy that we're comfortable with or not comfortable with seeing. That's why some people can see auras, right? Because they have the aperture for it. Because the rest of us, like me, are like, dude, I do not want to see auras. No. That's too
There's
weird.
some disease they call it, but people can see into the black light spectrum.
Wow. That's-
Yeah. And light hurts their eyes, bright lights really bothers them, but yeah, they can kind of see into the black light spectrum a little bit.
Wow. There is a people called the Moon-Eyed people. It's a Cherokee legend, just like Troy, just like the city of Troy was a legend, which we found it now. The Cherokee talked about the Moon-Eyed people. These were people that were nocturnal. They lived in southern Appalachia. And they would not come out during midday because they couldn't see. They had pale skin, they were albino, they were taller, they were more like giant creatures, and they could see. They had the same kind of perception, the same kind of aperture system that was different than the rest of us. But again, why have we blocked out so much of our history? Because our aperture is like, I don't want to process that. I don't want to process the land of giants. I don't want to process the Moon-Eyed people. I don't want to process fairies underground, right? I don't want to process these things. In fact, I would prefer it if we lived on a freaking ball so I could stop thinking about the wall, right? Like, I don't want to think about the ice wall. That's way too much data. Don't you be telling me there's an entire other region that's not here. It's too much. Just like James doesn't want to see aura, right? Bill doesn't want to see flat Earth. He doesn't want to see Atlantis, because that's what I think is happening, guys. What I think is that this inner ring, if you look at Plato's Timaeus, when he described Atlantis, he described it as what? 3 concentric rings, right? Surrounded by water. I want you to picture those 3 concentric rings, but surrounded by ice. And I think that what we're looking at is the center ring of Atlantis. That's what Earth is. And outside of this outer ring, outside of this ring of ice, is this next ring, this other ring of Atlantis. And anyone who lives in that ring already knows the Earth is flat. Why? Because they're living in a ring. They understand that. It's a very special place. If you're living in the very center of Earth, it's the one place where you could look at it as a globe, if that makes sense. It's the only place where you actually could see it as a sphere, is in the center. And that's why what we're looking at, guys, is the kiddie pool. We are in the kiddie pool of this place. And that's why people pee in it, because we're in the kiddie pool. We're surrounded by globe earthers that are peeing in our water. And that's natural. It's part of what you do. In the kiddie pool, you learn how to pee and not pee in the pool. That's why we're here. But meanwhile, there are airships in the clouds. There are submarines with people playing trombone for whales. There's energy that we're not willing to see. People that are born without birth certificates. People that are born that live 300, 400 years. People that aren't even people. Giants. They're there. But we needed a place. We needed a kiddie pool that we could confine ourselves to until we have the right discernment. That's the key. Until we have the right discernment. Why? Because no one in the outer ring wants to hang out with a guy that would want to come over and circumcise your kid and stick him full of fucking needles and tell him how dirty and sodomistic and how racist or how xenophobic or how evil or how this or how that he is. Who wants to hang out with that guy? But if we could make a kiddie pool for those people, they could spend time learning how to swim and eventually come out and play an adult swim for a while. But we only want the ones that are going to play by these rules, which means they have to be sovereign. They have to know what discernment is, and they have to not fall for really stupid bullshit. We can't invite them to our parties. We can't let them participate in our life if they're doing this much damage to each other. It's not acceptable. They're heathens. Meanwhile, these elite are waiting for us. Some of them are playing in the world. Some of them have come to the kiddie pool and set up 2 towers and created rituals for us to learn how to, hey, stop drinking pee water. Hey, stop drinking pee water. And you're like, hey, maybe I shouldn't drink this pee water. And the rest of us are like, that dude trying to get us to stop drinking pee water is evil. They're trying to enslave us. We need to drink more pee water. And he's just over there just like, God, you guys, I'm trying to freaking help you. Look at Building 7. And half of us are like, you're an evil satanic Luciferian, blah, blah, blah. I'm never going to listen to you. And they're drinking more pee water. And that's what's happening right now. The apocalypse is calling, my friends. And we have woken up to that. And we are ready for a new earth. We are ready for the next ring. We are ready to see the world for what it truly is. And it's glorious. It's a beautiful place to be. This is the best apocalypse ever. I'm telling you guys, you could not have made this better. There's no way.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing to see so many people just waking up.
Well, I've been enjoying the hell out of this apocalypse with you, brother. If you guys aren't following James, if you're not on Twitter, you definitely should be hanging out over there with us. It's a ride. It's a blast. Patreon also is a good place to hang out with James. J
Yeah, I've been
True.
streaming every day. Yeah, I've been
That's
streaming
it.
Monday through. I take Saturdays off, but I've been streaming every morning at like 10 a.m. So I call it unschooling. There's much to unlearn,
Nice. That's awesome.
and it's been fun. Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, I love how you just speak your heart, man. You can tell every word that you're saying is coming right from your soul.
Well, that's because I hang out with the right people. It like with Walt. I mean, I know what it was like 2 years ago when I wrote my chapter on special relativity and basically came out as a flat earther. I know what it was like then. I know that there was just Walt. There was no one else. It was like just Walt. There was just so few people out there now, and it's only because of the rising of the tribe that each of us are getting more confident with the world as we see it now, because we're not surrounded by ridicule. We're not surrounded by people that insist on knowing everything. I think that's what makes it the most beautiful part of it. When you're willing to admit that you won't know everything, when you truly embrace zeticism, which is, I'm more of a zeticist than I am a flat earther. I just have trouble saying that word. But when you truly accept that position, you enter into a really mellow kind of skate. Like it's the skating where they're playing the perfect song and they've dimmed the lights, talking about roller skating, and it's just the perfect vibe. And you're no longer freaking out over the world. You're no longer trying to beat everybody. You're now along for the ride. You see what this place truly is. And I wish everyone could experience what we have, guys. We hold a special fellowship in this cosmology. It is a special fellowship. It gives us this dilation for most of us. Not all of us have it, but it gives us this dilation that makes it all much more comfortable. It makes the solving of it. It makes it more about the journey, if that makes sense, than it does the destination, because that's really what got us locked in so long, is you have to have the answer. All this has to be solved. This all has to be debunked right now before it can be bunked. And how can you bunk it if you debunked it? Well, you can't, because first you have to debunk, then you bunk. And you end up with this like intense like squeezing of the sphincter. Meanwhile, there's flat Earth, just like, are you done? No, I'm not done. And you're just like, okay, it's cool. And that's why we need this other piece that I'm bringing. I'm bringing this other piece to you guys. It's called compassion aperture. And it's an important tool. We need it. It's going to make our journey better. It's going to make us more relaxed. And it's going to bring more people to us, because they're going to be like, hey, what are those dudes doing over there? Well, they got a campfire. They're roasting some corn or drinking some beer, playing guitar. That seems fun. What are those guys doing over there? They got masks on. They're crawling around. They've stuck an anal butt plug up for CO2 so they can measure how much CO2 comes out, and they believe in a bald earth. Yeah, let's not go over there. It's getting best apocalypse ever. This is getting easier every day.
Now, something when doing that made me think of, I want people to know, I don't know if they're aware it's going on, but Rose 777 has been doing what I would say, doing it right. She's had a lot of friends and acquaintances that are very open-minded on and bringing David Weiss from Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole over and actually having discussions, not insult matches, not beat up matches, but open discussions. And it's fun and refreshing to listen to. And by the way, I'm going to do a shameless plug. I am hopefully Tuesday, sometime in the afternoon, before Karen and Mark Sargent are on TFR, but I think I'm going to do a show with Rose on Tuesday, and because I'm going to show to her how I think, like how a holographic sky could be naturally possible. And so we're going to do a little one-on-one. I'm going to show Rose, and she said, "Do you care if we put it on there and show other people?" Because I wanted to explain to her, and she's like, "Can I make it a show?" And I
That's
said, "You
awesome.
betcha." So anybody that's not subscribed to Rose 777, go over and subscribe to her. She, you might know her from the Crow Show, Crow 777, but all on her own. She is an amazing person without any connections, and I'm truly enjoying her channel. So go over and subscribe. And if you'd like to see me try to explain to Rose how I think a naturally holographic sky could function, please subscribe and tune in. I think it will be, we're planning sometime Tuesday.
Awesome. I will keep an eye out.
Thank you.
And that's really awesome, Kimmy. Congratulations. That's exciting.
Yep.
Can I say just real quick?
No.
How much I appreciate, you're right, probably not. There's not much I do say quickly when I do say anything at all. How much I appreciate seeing Walter's face here. I have absolutely missed the hell out of you, brother. It's good to see you here.
I missed you too, friend. I missed all you guys. And like chat, look, I have not been ignoring everybody, but if I start typing to one, I'll miss somebody and I don't want to hurt anybody's feeling. I've been watching chat and loving it all. You guys have been great. And having James here to come back, see everybody. I just wish the rest of the team could have been here today, but we definitely miss you all as well. So, but it's great to be back. And hopefully this Friday afternoon thing can continue. It's just the 2 a.m. slot right now is problematic. She's usually sleeping, as is the rest of the house. So it's just
No, I get it.
timing.
Mhm.
But yeah, when I can slip in there on the Ironworks, I definitely will for sure. But man, it's been a blast. And James, dude, my God, I can't even. I have to watch this show like 8 times just to get all the different times you broke my brain and try to catch up. My God, thank you.
Well,
Indeed.
trying to do the opposite of break it, but I appreciate that. It's fun stuff, man. I love this
Amazing
world.
stuff.
I love looking at it. I love every aspect of it. It's just love it. It's funny because I was philosophy religion major in college, and firmly wanted to go on and study it more. And I noticed during my senior thesis, I had a project in mind. It was does the ATM machine prove that reality is not what we think it is? That was my senior thesis. I wanted it to be about virtual reality, basically, before it even came out. And it was all approved. And then my professor, the advisor, he retired. He retired that summer. And I came back to fall and he was gone. And a new professor was there, a young punk, just out of his doctorate. And he goes, "You can't do this topic because no one's done it before. You don't get to philosophize. You have to say what other people said. You're not going to do this project." And it showed me right away that I'm never going to make it in academia, that we weren't actually doing philosophy. And I actually abandoned school at that point. I finished my degree and was like, I'm done with this. And I just want to point out that since the apocalypse has broken out, I'm now running a free philosophy course on my website. And it's 6 days a week. We're doing these awesome lectures and it's fun. And there's people there. And no one is there for credentials. No one is there for electives. No one is there to get any stupid street cred. It's just purely the love of wisdom. And that's what philosophy truly means. The word means the love of wisdom. So as this apocalypse is broken out, I've found that a dream that I've had my entire life is now happening every day. And it's beautiful. I love thinking about this stuff. I love speculating on this stuff. I definitely don't want anyone to think that I think I'm right. You will find that I'm wrong a lot. I was just on Richie from Boston and I was very wrong. I told a bunch of people that a lot of bad things that were going to happen, and it wasn't the case at all. It's led me to where I'm at now. But it's just such a beautiful thing that we live in this world where we can even explore these ideas, that we can truly place a canvas in front of all of us and paint a picture just to see what would come out. Not to be right, not to be wrong, but just to see what comes out. It's such a beautiful exercise. I feel grateful that I even have an audience, because honestly, people used to wouldn't even listen to me. They'd be like, well, I don't even know who you are. This is not good. It's so much better this way. I love it. I love it. I love it.
One of the things I like so much about Iron Realm Media is the fact that again, we're open to and want to hear different ideas. If you don't hear different ideas with an open filter, not just to smack them down, but to actually ponder, give it thought, take what resonates with you. If you don't allow yourself to experience different material, you really get stuck in an echo chamber and you don't grow. You don't grow. I love having guests on that agree with, disagree with. James has been like one of my favorite of all times with the amount of information and stuff that you have thrown out. You've given so much to ponder, think, dream, and good positive energy, ways to interpret, different ways of looking at things. And thank you. Thank you for being on the show. And thank you, audience, for coming to this little neck of the woods that I feel is so friendly. And Walt, oh my God, Walt, thank you for coming back on the show. I've missed you so much.
I miss you, lady, and the whole family there. Hug Bob for me.
I will. I'll give him a
Tell
big
Jaron,
hug.
hey, and Minion and the rest of the crew for sure.
Jaron's working on being taller than Zach right now. Is the latest thing going
That's
on
his
here.
project?
I think that's his project.
All
I
right.
think it's. I think
Man,
he's
he
gonna
is.
win.
Yeah, he's getting up there. It's scary how fast that kid grows.
Well, I pasted my YouTube channel in the chat. You guys can't actually click on it. I don't know why. It's not letting you click on it. But if you want to,
let me see here. I think
you
I
can
have it
hit
somewhere down in the bottom. Do I have it on the bottom list of your stuff? There's Amazon, there's J True, and that might be your YouTube right there. Maybe in the show description. If it's not, I'll fix it for sure.
And I'm working on trying to get it in the main show chat. But
Yeah, I'm working on
I'm
that
a bad
too.
typer. You'll probably beat me. I'll have it 10 minutes after you have it pasted.
I've already closed the whole page, so you beat.
So how about as soon as you get that
Got
paperback
it.
out for sale, James, we have you back on. And I will order one live on the air, and we can show everybody just how easy it is to get one ordered.
Great, yeah. And right now you can get it for Kindle if you want. But yeah, if you wait for the paperback, it'll be out here in a week or two. And it's actually going into a lot of transhumanism too. It's interesting how Carl Jung talks about how the human spirit is always trying to resolve its anima or animus, depending on its gender. And this is a tale about that. It's about the fetish of transhumanism really is birthed in our belief in our weakness. And the main character believes that he is weak. And because of his weakness, he ends up trying to climb into a machine. He wants to merge with this artificial intelligence called Kuan Yin. Meanwhile, Kuan Yin is actually a demon. She's a daemon, Daemon. She's living in a machine. She knows what it's like to be a demon. And what she wants more than anything is mortality. She wants the ability to die. She wants the ability to forget all the things that they've made her remember as part of her life as an artificial intelligence. So it's a really beautiful tale of you're looking at Carl Jung. The hero's journey is literally laid out in sci-fi, but there's no bullshit. It's right from chapter 1. It's telling you what satellites are. Right from chapter 2, it's explaining to you Lord technology that dates back to the Old Testament. This is 4 years of really, really thought-provoking research. I'm sorry to call it thought-provoking, but I'm telling you, you guys are going to be moved by these thoughts because they took so long to come up with. And it's the storyline that takes you through these struggles. And more importantly, it's going to show you how the arc happens, how this arc happens for the next reset. What happens to us as humanity when we store this time capsule of information that's going to be broadcast over. This story is introducing how all this fits, how all this works, and how what we see before us in ancient history is actually showing us where we're going soon, that we are a snake eating its own tail. We are that energy that's completing its own circuit, and that we are the ones responsible for the Tower of Babel, just as much as we are responsible for Kronos cutting the umbilical cord, causing that Tower of Babel to fall, causing the great deluge, the reset. The reason why we're resetting really quick is because man becomes fully aware of everything. And this omniscience that man has through computer enhanced simulation makes life torture. To know everything in the world is a form of torture because you're locked and trapped in time, but there's no mystery anymore. And that's actually what causes the entire world to reset. It's the pain that we have from knowing all things. It turns out that having a sense of mystery, having a cavern that you don't know what's around the next corner, is completely crucial to our life experience here. That the agnosis, not gnosis, but agnosis is just as crucial to your well-being as gnosis is. So it's really a journey that's deep. It's not just about flat earth. It's not just about sci-fi. It's not just about AI. It's not just about transhumanism. It's truly about consciousness itself and this giant lung that we have where we're breathing in and out sentience, this longer, more important goal, this more subterranean goal. So if anyone's interested in that, please buy it. I would love to sell a lot of these copies so I can write another one and keep writing more books. I don't have as many readers as I have watchers, and it'd be great if more people were reading too, because when you're reading a book, you're not in Babylon. You're in front of a tree, or you're outside, or you're doing something else. So anytime I can get someone to read, it's always better, I think.
Tell us the name, everybody in there, of your new novel.
Quantum Rapture is the name of my new novel. Thank you for asking that. It's called Quantum Rapture.
And are we able to put that in the show notes too for people to look at
We
and
can do
get?
that.
Fabulous.
It should be there also.
And
Okay,
you'll find that on Amazon right now, but only in Kindle.
oh, there's a link. Okay, I see it. There is a link.
It's only on Kindle, but paperback's coming soon. And I have 3 other books if anyone's interested. I do have 3 other books.
I
But
am
I'm
very
trying to find the hot
interested.
books. I love hanging out.
They're really good books. And as he said, reading is just something that we have all forgotten. Even reading a book on the phone or the tablet just isn't the frickin' same as the tactile sensation of turning those pages.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good medicine.
I am. I used to be an avid reader. I took everything through reading. Now with the eye, it's harder for me to stay focused online, but before I didn't have the patience for making it an audio book or listening to it, plugging it in and having it read. Now I have that patience. So life is a trade-off. But yeah, in the book, I'm sure that I have the thing that will read it for me. Again, get it on Kindle. You can put a reader on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hey, Walt, you got that piece of silver on you real quick?
It's right here.
All right.
Hello.
Perfect.
Yeah, my camera's horrible. You can't see it hardly. It has the Mayan calendar on the back.
Beautiful. Excellent.
That is so cool.
I wanted to, just grab another target. I mean, as much as I enjoy and love just scattershot sending love and positive vibes, just, sort of northeast direction, this will sort of help give me some pinpoint sniper
Focal
targets.
point.
Yep.
Nice. Thank you.
That way, whether it's in your pocket or on the stand next to your bed or in your mom's hand,
Mm-hmm.
I'll have some place to send it all. Well, not all, but some more.
That's a good thought. I like that.
Awesome. Thank you, and thank everybody. The prayers, the love, it all gets sent to her with big hugs, and she appreciates it truly. Thank you all. Well, man, it's 7:00 here. I don't know about you guys, but I do need to wind it down.
Nope, I was just thinking the same thing.
Nice.
It's the true train.
True chain.
Oh, and this has been a true show. It's been great.
Absolutely phenomenal.
You guys,
That's
if you
very
don't
true.
know, Cammie had talked about True from Cloud Atlas before this started. That's what caused that. It wasn't. The irony was that my name's True. I think that was an after.
Right. There were so
After
many layers. I was missing them too. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was multi-layered, that one. I was going to, if I had time, the plan was to take a little Thomas the Tank Engine and superimpose old James there and have it on the thumbnail as well. But
Thomas, oh man, put my face on there now.
the true train. That's right. So time didn't allow. I got stuck in traffic on the way home. Unusually heavy for a Friday.
I have to work on that for the book debut. For sure.
Oh, that is
Face for it.
great.
There's the face for it. Doesn't
There
have
it was. There it is. We'll freeze frame it.
Beautiful.
I'm glad that wasn't a full image by there.
Oh, I can pull it out.
We have the technology.
With that, I guess it's time to get the hell out of here.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really, really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure as always. Anytime you want to come back again, hopefully once that comes out in paperback, really, I will sit here and as long as I'm not showing credit card numbers and such, I'll order it right here live on the air because I will definitely be getting a copy. So,
Absolutely.
2 birds, 1 stone in the bush. I don't know. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thanks again, James.
Thank you.
Adam Meakin, we missed the hell out of you. Hope to see
Yeah.
you back here next week.
I'd like to just say, Adam, I miss you, buddy. I always enjoy talking to you too. So.
Yeah, you too, Savage. Hopefully we'll be talking to you someday in the very near future.
Yep.
Otherwise, I guess we'll just get the hell out. Thank you all. This has been another episode of Have No Sphere. Cammie, thank you so much. Zach, thank you so much. Walt, always a pleasure. Glad to see you again. James, until next time, we will see everybody right back here next week for another episode. In the meantime, be good and be well. Bye-bye.